Ladies and gentlemen, we are live with the CGL Summer Series 2021 conclusion. I'm your host, Dragonite. I'm joined by my co host, Mr. Tenacious Nacho, Nate Dowg. Nate, it's a good day for Apex. You and I watch these teams, separate teams, 40 teams, piled down to this 20. It's going to be a good day for Apex. How you feeling?
Yeah, I'm pretty excited, man. We got to see some pretty interesting storylines unfold. And we also got to see I have a couple favorite players now that I'm very excited to watch compete today. There's a bunch of teams we recognize today. So I think it's going to be a really good day to watch this tournament unfold. I think we're going to have some great games on our hands.
I really do too. I mean, of course, for those of you that may be just joining us, the format was on the previous week on the 21st. 40 separate teams battled out. Both NA and European teams are playing in separate lobbies here. This is, of course, going to be the European version of the final here. And what we've got is a group of 20 teams that placed top 10 across both lobbies here. So there's going to be a various amount of teams, but all of these players and groups are not just people who enrolled in a tournament. They were at the top 50% of their lobby, no questions asked. Now, of course, there's going to be some still varying skill groups across that. A top 50% is a pretty wide threshold, right? So there's definitely going to be some varying skill that we're going to get to play with there. But of course, these teams earned their right to be here on our season 10 version of World's Edge. Now, of course, again, this is very different for Apex because this season, excuse me, is still very young. So there are going to be a lot of different POIs for the players to land on. We talked about some different gun meta. We do have the point breakdown on your screen here. So, of course, kill points are going to be worth 1 point, and then placement is going to be significantly larger. You do, of course, want to get yourself a couple kills netted through on the way just to make sure you get a nice little buffer there, as we've seen from some other victors in the pool here. But, Nate, we're in season 10. Tell me some things. You and I, in fact, had even talked prior to the broadcast about some of the things that were different from even season 9 moving forward. Last time we had this tournament, Seer was still powerful. Seer got a nerf this week. We may see significantly less Seer play than Bloodhound. How do you feel about that?
I kind of don't really love the Seer meta. I think Seer had just kind of way too much information. I thought it was almost a little unfair. So I would love to see that classic Bloodhound get played today and utilized. We saw a little bit of Bloodhound last week, but I'm kind of hoping he makes a bigger appearance this week because I mean he's a staple. Like when I think Apex Legends, I think of Bloodhound first. So I don't know. Bloodhound's number one in my heart, but I think we're going to be seeing a bunch of Seer even still.
I think so too. I think Seer's in a good place where that Q is still punishing. You halt those heals, you halt the revives, but you don't get that extra 10 damage. That was a big issue with Seer because you could effectively play at a high tier and just farm annoying 10 ticks of damage on group players to either level an Evo shield, wear down their heals. I mean, it was just frustrating. And Apex, I think, is a game with an incredibly high skill gap, even at a high tier. But there's nothing rewarding about crouching and hitting a Q, in my opinion. I think that that's just kind of an easy mode on the character, and it looks like the respawn friends that we have feel exactly the same. So of course we got to see that changed. I think Seer's heartbeat is still pretty powerful. His ultimate is still powerful as well, but that Bloodhound that gives that conditional scanning information to the team will of course be pretty popular. We're going to probably see a lot of Gibraltar here. Of course, again at high tier, you need that optional reset. You have your LB since we're all on controllers here at the CGL. You need that LB optional dome, and then you get that little bit faster res in the shield there as well. No more fast heal, of course. A couple seasons ago, Gibraltar did lose the fast heal in the dome. That was just kind of one of those maybe we overpackaged Gibraltar a little bit. Lifeline loss of utility and so on. But I'm curious to see. We saw a lot of different stuff last time in the previous pool. We saw some wraiths, which we don't always see anymore. We usually see a lot of octanes. We saw a couple pathfinders, men after my heart, and we saw some lobas. And I really like seeing a loba because the European teams, contrary to the North American teams, I think prioritize loot a little bit more. Their rotations are a little bit different, the way they play in the zone. What are you hoping to see out of the character meta, Nate?
I mean, I'm a Revenant guy myself. We saw a little bit of Revenant. I really do love the totem. I think it can create just an awesome opportunity for your team to push in and to do good damage, or even go get like kind of scouting and get some information. Maybe you can burn out the enemy's heals. It's a little free. You do lose a little bit of health. Like you said, I would love to see some Loba. I feel like with Loba, you're basically at the grocery store. What do you need? We've got it right here. So, I mean, personally speaking, if I can get the guns I favor in my inventory, I'm going to be that much more comfortable going into any gun engagement. So I would kind of like to see that implemented a little bit. And then I gotta say, I love watching Octane. I think
Oh
Octane
yeah.
is just an explosive character. I love the launch pads. I love when, a team decides that, okay, it's time to go ape and they just soar in on the Octane pad and you see a whole team soaring through the sky right at you. I think it's just exciting. I like to see the engagements going on and I don't know. I really think those are going to be the mains. I think we're going to see a lot of Bloodhound, Octane, Gibraltar. I think we're going to see a lot of Seer. And if we see anything else, I think it's just going to be that much more exciting.
Well, let me pivot off of that and we'll start with exciting. So guys, we've got a list of 20 separate teams and CGL has kindly provided our casting group with a list of those teams. Now, the number 1 team, Team Dramatic. We've talked about a lot of characters in the meta here. We talked about a Seer. I name dropped a Wraith. We didn't say anything about the stinky gas daddy himself. Their third player, Leneka, is a Caustic, dropping 27k across the previous tournament series. That's not a Gibraltar. There is no defensive bombardment. There's no shield, no defensive abilities other than building trapping. Nate, do you think in a higher grouped, a higher tiered lobby, this Caustic is going to be as impactful? We do see Caustic in traditional tournament play sometimes, but other legends are usually favored.
I think he'll make an appearance. I feel like as the event progresses, we kind of saw teams mix up their strategies. We saw teams kind of rotate from like a high aggression team comp where they can go run in and get those kill points. And then we also saw teams just kind of try to avoid engagements and hunker down and play for those placement points. And we saw both of those strategies succeed and fail. I kind of mentioned it last time. I kind of think the legends help, but at the end of the day, it's a shooting game, and the team who's shooting better is probably going to win. So I think most of these legends can be viable. I think they can be played, and I think that you can have a player with a high rate of success, as you said, like 27k over the last event is just unreal, especially for a Caustic. So to me, that screams aggressive movement. But like maybe they were hunkering down and just using the gas. I think that we're gonna see it evolve as the day goes on.
Absolutely. And I think again, I mean, we can talk about area denial as opposed to like a Gibraltar denying an area maybe in a field, right? Gibby paired with an Octane's great because you can get on your pad. Oh no, we can't all sprint like Octane now that we've hit our double jumps. I can bub across the field that I need to get through. That's great. That's exactly what a Gibraltar can be used for. On the other hand, if you've got a Caustic with you, you just do the opposite. Oh, I'm going to deny a team an ability to get into an area as opposed to make myself get into an area. So I mean, you have different play styles there. I'm no Gas Daddy fan. I have fought many a Caustic in my Predator grind, and it's a tough life trying to push a building with 8 gas canisters in it. And I think Caustic can be enough of a shakeup in a frustrating way too, because we don't always see that character. Players are not always ready for a gas or even a Watson fence. Although Watson is unfortunately very underserved in this current meta, we hope to see our little Waddy get some buffs there. But I think that this is an interesting comp too because a lot of people have dropped off of Wraith in favor of Octane, considering that Octane has a higher speed and Wraith's Q now takes longer to activate in a gunfight. So this may be a case of there may be a little identity crisis on this team, to be honest, because people are opting out of Seer, people were opting out of Wraith, and then Caustic's an interesting choice. So I think obviously this dramatic team, our number 1 place team, knows what they're doing. They didn't get to number 1 without a reason. But curious to see if we see any subs. Nate, if we have to sub Seer and Wraith on this team here, so Zidane was going to be the Seer and Nubicide was going to be our Wraith there. Do you have any idea of character substitutions for either Seer or the Wraith? Any guesses on what that team might pick?
Bloodhound Octane.
You
Almost
think so?
every time. I just think it's so safe. Like I
I think
said,
so too.
Bloodhound has been such a staple that I feel like you really can't go wrong, even though Seer did have kind of that extra information. I mean, the Bloodhound can see how long, that it's extra information that Seer doesn't get. Um, and he's just been such a staple pick for so long. I think we're gonna see Bloodhound in and out today. Octane as well, just why not? We can just the ability to go in and collapse when you need to is critical, and you can also have that escape with the launch pad. So I just can't see any reason why you wouldn't have at least one, if not both of them on your team.
Yeah, Octane's utility is the same reason that I think Wraith saw a lot of gameplay in the initial life of the game was that as opposed to like a Pathfinder, for instance, um, you make every character on your team into something for a brief period of time. So Pathfinder is the only one who can use his grapple. Wraith is the only one that can use your Q. Everyone can, in theory, use a Pathfinder zipline, but it's slower. It's dangerous. You're moving in a unilateral direction, as opposed to a Wraith portal, you're literally invulnerable, and opposed to an Octane pad where you have control directly in the air. Those are the best characters for rotation. And so I think your assessment is perfect in that regard, Nate, that those would be the characters that we would see. The other one that I want to pat myself a little bit on the back, we talked about it in the previous broadcast. I think Bloodhound is is more powerful at an average tier than a Seer would be, because you need to direct your Seer Q as opposed to a Bloodhound ult or a Bloodhound scan that scans in a cone direction, right? And that provides information to your team on a if you're an ult a 6-second basis. So I think Seer could perform in a niche way at a really, really high tier, but I think Bloodhound's going to be our standard. But guys, I think we don't need to make any more guesses, any more extra questions, no more supposition, because we're going to get into it. This is going to conclusively prove our first game of 6. You see that on the left-hand side of your screen, again, courtesy of our production team here at the Console Gaming League. We're going to have a lot of nifty graphics. We're going to have some post-game replays. We're going to have a lot of cool stuff to bring to you today. Nate and I are always proud to be on board with this team.
Introducing your champion. The skies belong to me.
And a little bit of pre-game flex right there. We've got another Stinky Boy in the lobby and a Valkyrie. Now, Valkyrie, of course, making a lot of appearances. For instance, you will see like a TSM Albralele ran a Valkyrie playing as a sub for Team Liquid. I mean, that's certainly no weird character choice. But the rotational ability we get from Valkyrie is very different from what you would get from an Octane. So I actually really like to see that diversity in the legend pool.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, it was kind of not a pick that I would have considered otherwise. But you know, on paper, like I said, it makes sense. You know, you have great mobility, great chances to not only go in but also to get out. You know, definitely viable. I think today, especially when you're trying to rotate in and out of those zones.
And I'm taking a peek here. This team that we did just watch drop right here. That's going to be, I believe, Rice was the player that we had named that. So that's Superior Vietchi, and I think Trice is the handle. That's going to be our 6th place team. That's going to be SPC Gaming, if I'm not mistaken. They were in the lobby A as opposed to the lobby B that was played off screen in the last tournament there. But man, just as we get into this game, let's talk about some of the visuals that we had from those flyovers from this wonderful production team. Obviously, Respawn making that beautiful new skybox. We are not completely in sad darkness on World's Edge anymore, so I happen to love that. But we've already got some teams in a skirmish here over at the lava area. So again, this is going to be BWO Gaming. I wasn't able to see what the other team was, but of course, this is going to be a pretty traditional fight area that you see. A lot of teams like to contest this area right off the drop there at Lava Fisher. There's pretty good loot density and a nice rotation directly into Countdown.
Well, there's also, you know, if you're having more than one squad landing there, you do get that. I mean, it's kind of a 50-50. Are we going to win it? Are we going to get the better loot? Are we going to, you know, maybe they won't get the kill points. I'm assuming that at least one of these teams is going to wipe the other, but maybe they both rotate out and both stay alive. But usually I feel like when you have 2 squads landing at Lava Fissure, one of them goes down. So you're securing yourself at least those 3 kill points, which is, you know, they do add up. We saw last broadcast, you know, some of the teams would have a hot game where you stack up so many points that they don't have to worry about getting first place in the next couple games. So we're just gonna have to see what happens today.
Yeah, interesting to see these competitors not necessarily inting each other anywhere near what they did in the previous set there. I think that there may be a little bit of nerves, there may be a lot more respect, because of course this is phase 2, right? Like we had said when the broadcast started, 40 teams played on the 21st and got siphoned down into 20 for their respective region pools. So this is literally it. This is your last chance. So, of course, I think players are going to give each other a significant amount of respect. We're going to swap over to the AAS Red team, though. This was our number 4 team that had proved their placement in the previous pool there. This is going to be a roster consisting of Star Killer, Overkill, and Forterino there. And it looks like they're pretty well armored here. I mean, a Gibby with a blue shield less than 2-3 minutes into this game. If you're still stuck in your white armor, this Gibby himself is going to be a menace, because you've got that additional gun shield with a fast recharge rate. You've got that ability to peek with that, with the extra armor as well. I mean, this is a difficult fight here. And we did get to see a Pathfinder, Nate. We've got the Robo from my heart. I love to see a Pathfinder. Pretty unorthodox in this meta, but we love to see the extra legends get a little bit of love.
Well, it is a little unorthodox, like you said. You still do have that mobility character, so you're not. I mean, with the zip lines, like you said, they are slow and unilateral, so they're kind of high risk. But it looks like we've got some action here as AAS Red is starting to collapse on a squad.
And they are going to be pushing in towards the tunnel here. So, I mean, we are going to see, I believe that was a Caustic. We see the 3x on the 301 here. So, pretty punishing for a lot of controller players here. And once again, this is important to note that this is the console gaming league. Now that Apex is crossplay, I do believe people are allowed to play across computers. We do see those computer icons on the left-hand side, especially for the Starkiller Wraith here. But they are all required to be on a controller here. So, we're going to see a lot of close combat skill in my opinion, versus some long distance. And I think if we see a lot of long distance skill there, that's going to exhibit how talented some of these players are. But beautiful shots. We already cracked the White Armored Bloodhound, 54 damage out of the Starkiller Wraith right here. We already see that their 750 armor's leveled to 576. So they've been in a squabble as well, 174 damage on that Wraith. That 301 with the hard scope, just camping that corner of the Bloodhound scans coming in from one team there. I don't necessarily love that we don't have information from AAS here, but it looks like they have the team comp to definitely go pretty aggressive.
Yeah, I like the discipline here. You know, I would have probably tried to collapse as soon as I got that first knock. But I like to see the patience from this AAS squad here, showing why they were the number 4 squad. Because, I mean, the patience on the push-in. I mean, they're getting the damage. It looks like they're going to play for this revive here. Everybody's just trying to stay alive. That does not look good if you're AAS. Taken out. We're gonna have to see if Starkiller is gonna try to get the revives, gonna get the knocks. If I'm Starkiller at this point, I feel like the play is to just try to escape and play your life and play for placement points. But unfortunately, taken out.
Yeah, I think there was a little bit of a lack of teamwork in that specific engagement. That Pathfinder did go down. We saw the Gibraltar ult outside trying to damage the players outside of the train tunnel there. I would have liked to see a turnaround in a dome from that Gibraltar to potentially res that Pathfinder. They would have had to push directly through the Gibraltar ult or stay in the radius of gunfire from that Wraith there. I think just maybe a little nerves. That was not the AAS that we'd seen in the previous lobby, but who knows? Maybe they're having an off day. Maybe it's a bad luck. Maybe it's a combo of them being in a lobby with other skilled players. This is exactly some of our favorites may become some of our least favorites moving forward.
Well, I want to also point out that was Team Vittori, who we saw dominating in the last broadcast. So, I mean, Team Vittori is our number 5. So our number 5 spot just took out our number 4 squad. It looks like they're trying to become that number 4 slot. And because, you know, AAS Red goes down.
Absolutely. And we do see a team set up in the train station here. Again, beautiful POV swaps from our production team here at CGL. I mean, I have to say it. I'm so impressed. The cinematography almost from this looks like the Emergent Season 10 trailer. These look like these beautiful cuts. But we do see what looked to be an Octane jumping around through on the right-hand side there. I believe that was an Octane pad that was employed. Somebody took that heading right towards Epicenter. We see a couple players phase through. That's going to be Zidane. So that is going to be our number 1 team. This is dramatic. Zidane, Nubicide, and I'm going to go for Lineka. Is that player's name. And we did actually see Nubicide get 2 knocks earlier, or at least 1 knock, excuse me, earlier in the kill feed with a 30-30 repeater. So kind of an unorthodox gun. I mean, not bad in this meta. It's pretty much a hard-scoped wingman in a long-distance range with a little bit of bullet drop right here, but pretty gutsy, if you ask me here. So here's our Nubicide, here's our Caustic, and it actually looks like they have swapped. So Lineka is going to be running the Wraith, and it looks like Nubicide is going to be running that Caustic, and they are still running Seer. So we did not see a meta swap up, and so that could just be that these players are so comfortable. Nate and I had actually talked. Of course, we do a variety of games as casters and players and competitors. We're across Halo, Smash Bros, kind of all of it, and we had talked about how sometimes, even if your main isn't super meta, if you are very comfortable with your main, it may make sense to use your tried and true. And so I think we might be seeing exactly that from this choice to play with Seer.
I mean, yeah, I mean, it's been what the character that everybody's been playing for the last couple weeks, and if you're comfortable, why change it up before an event? You want to eliminate as many of those variables as you can. But the Caustic gas here, it's looking to be a bit of a problem for both of these squads. We've got people just kind of bleeding out and taking health damage, so it looks like we've got a Caustic on a Caustic.
And I really like that utility. So we saw that Caustico drop the gas barrel. So that is going to be able to be popped. I would like to see Lineka Q out of here. And we're going to put the barrel right in the doorway. So that Caustic is still down. So nobody did end up taking that. So we're going to go for the Arc Star. We might be able to clear this kill here. And we're just going to consistently throw barrels. A little over eager from Nubicide. He took like 5 points of damage right there on his own shields. But we do see Lineka get a bleed out onto that PSG player right there. And it looks like they were at least able to get that one, and it does look like, I believe, that entire team may have gotten wiped in that engagement, because we do see Zidane walk away with 2 kills right there and a couple death boxes on the screen. So a little bit of a struggle of a fight there, considering that Lineka went down. And there's that Epicenter team that we did see leave earlier. They must have been drawn towards the gunfight there. I mean, of course, as we all know in Apex, the third parties, they smell blood in the water and the sharks start coming. And that's exactly what, unfortunately, you are going to be required to do. But important to note as well, this is a much slower lobby than we had seen in what I am going to refer to as the lower AM lobby. We still have 17 squads left, 19 squads participating today. It looks like 1 squad kind of bailed out without kind of giving any precedence there. But this is an incredibly full lobby. This is right on full perfect settings and perfect tiers. So to have this many squads as we're headed into zone 2 is far, rather into zone 3, this is far closer to a true ALGS or GLL setup than anything we've seen before. So we're only in game 1, and this is shaping up to be an incredibly sweaty summer series.
You know, I love when you can see the high tier Apex matches because I love all the chaos that ensues in those last couple rings where everybody's trying to push it and play for position, and you've got 11 squads all closing in on the 4th or 5th ring, and you know that those small like microseconds are what separates the top teams from the bottom teams, right? How do you play in that chaos? What do you prioritize? Do you go in and fight, or do you go try to play your life? Do you sneak around? It's just I can't wait to see how the strategy unfolds today. Like you said, this is starting off to be a bit of a slower series, but it may pick up, you know, as the games progress. We did see the pacing of the matches kind of bob and weave in and out from aggressive to standoffish, and we saw people switching up whether they were playing close range or long range. We saw a little bit of sniper action last broadcast, so I'm very excited to see how this one plays out. 16 squads remaining, so you know, so far so slow, but definitely not so bad.
And I do not mind the slow starts, right? I'm a little bit of an investor, right? I put a little bit into my stock portfolio, and it pays dividends, literally. So the slower we have a start, the more teams we have at the end, the absolute, as you love to say, Nate, slobber knocker of a game it will become. But on the death boxes from a previous team that we saw fight, I believe this is where we saw AAS go down to Team Vittori, our number 5 team, playing in this hallway. We do have X57. This is going to be the, I believe, the ROO, or the ROD team, excuse me if I'm not mistaken. This was our 20th. This is our last place team that we are currently spectating here. But we are going to be swapping over to Lays Are Healthy. Another one kind of orbiting that 20th. And this was going to be our 18th place team. Now we are going to see the Eva on the Gibraltar. Brilliant call. Might like to see a little bit of ADS here to use that Gibraltar's gun shield. Trapped in both an Arc Star, a little bit of fire here. And I think they're going to trap themselves in the bubble with that Arc. So they are able to get that battery off and get that little bit of safety there. But unfortunately, they're not really able to do much. And now that bubble is going to be on a near 30-second cooldown from when it pops. So we do see that flicker. The Pathfinder's going to be jumping off. Lays is healthy. Didn't really get much damage. We didn't see a single Evo level right there. What we really saw was characters use 2 of their tactical abilities and burn some heals. So if you're in Laser Healthy, this is not necessarily the place you want to be. On the other hand, it looks like you do have some ample bodies, so you can get some armor swap, check the body bags, and move forward here. But back to our fight in the tunnel, Nate. Tell us what's happening.
I mean, we've got, you know, 2 squads kind of going neck and neck. I personally hate fighting in these tunnels. There's a lot of room to get flanked, and you don't really have any room to escape. So it's pretty much you got to brawl your way out, and that's exactly what's happening. Is we've got the Mastiff out. Gibraltar's taking massive damage. It's knocked. And it does unfortunately look like this 20th squad may be taken out. The Octane launches, unfortunately, up into the rafters and halts the escape as they are quickly taken out by BWO Gaming.
Yeah, that was a tough fight right there. I really like that Gibraltar with a Mastiff. So, of course, for those of us, unfortunately, let's pivot really quickly, too, to this NML squad, the Animal Squad that I've referred to them as. That was going to be our 14th place, and unfortunately, they are down a Bloodhound. So I believe that was, if I'm not mistaken, that was going to be Exodia. I think who is that Bloodhound who is no longer going to be there. And this is Vittori. So we do already know that this team does have a series of kills. I believe they have 3 kill points across the board here, at least considering that they were the team that took out the AAS Red in that tunnel previously. And this looks like this team that rotated Survey Camp may have been the squad, the Nate, if I'm not mistaken, the BWO Gaming, I believe you said that they were, that may have rotated directly down here. But that Gibraltar with the Mastiff is a very meta choice here. I personally, of course, we all see the Eva, and I play mobility characters, so I tend to run the Eva myself. Gibraltar with an Eva is certainly not bad, but that Mastiff with that chunk damage, you can line up a 90 to 100 damage shot far easier than you could with an Eva. So we do see a lot of Gibraltar players rotating using that PK and Mastiff. So I did like that choice there, but just not enough team, in my opinion, cohesion for that fight that was in the tunnel there, unfortunately. A lot of damage played from different players. We saw all of those players in low health, but just nobody could really execute. Great lineup on the back of that Gibraltar right there. The Beamerson comes in, and I think it looks like Snifty, again, one of our top placing players there. Again, this is Vittori, our 5th place squad. That was going to be about 150 damage out of that Octane onto a couple different players right there. So with that 3x in tow, that is an incredible amount of gun skill, considering how hard the 3x is to use on those guns, especially at a considerable distance. So nothing but impressive.
Yeah, I mean, that Gibraltar got lit up as soon as he poked out of the door in the first engagement, got his shields back, and then they were like, okay, we should probably get out of here because these guys are hitting long-range shots, and they got lit up on their way out. So just great damage. You know, those shots with the bullet drop and the leading, they're not always easy to hit, but they certainly were making those shots count.
Absolutely, and it looks like I was mistaken here. It looks like the EU Kapalitha, if I'm not mistaken, is going to be the Bloodhound that was on that roster that unfortunately does find themselves dead. But it looks like that Gibraltar was going to get thirsted as well. I believe we did see a beacon pull right there at the end, though, if I'm not mistaken. We see Snifty, we see Hyde, and we see Kitten. Again, this is that Vittori squad that we've been talking about considerably here. And they are looking towards, it looks like there is going to be a player up towards the inside of the tunnel there near the train station. It looks like Snifty is going to be padding up. This is going to be a solo. This is going to be Kirito trying to take a 1v1 against the Octane. The melee, I really agree with that play, trying to get the Octane off of height, forcing him to have to re-challenge. But a very, very quick push comes in, and they are able to steal the kill on that rate. So they do finish wiping out that squad. That's going to be our team Vittori with, I believe, a cumulative 6 points across the team now, if I'm not mistaken. We see definitely at least a handshake up there in the top right-hand corner. And your clap, I believe, our number 3 roster from the previous engagement. Nate, these are all teams that you and I are familiar with. This was Blue Wizard, Pew, and Rainbow Ape from the previous series here. And we saw incredibly impressive stuff with them. This is a different kit, though. We did not see Wizard sniping very much. What are you thinking about this?
I mean, like you said, man, in these controller lobbies, if you can get those long-range shots off, you know, we just saw 90 damage out of 1 bullet. So if you can hit 2 bullets, it can be a great opportunity for your team to secure kills or to get great damage, to have that opportunity to push in. I don't necessarily hate it, but you have to make those shots count. We have like a 1x optic, maybe a 2x optic on that gun. I didn't quite catch it, but I mean, you're going to need to get longer range optics if you want those kind of guns to work. I probably just haven't been able to find them yet. But, you know, interesting. I mean, the Sentinel, if you're hitting your shots, it's definitely worth its weight in gold. But if that player's not hitting your shots, that's other damage that your team is missing out on. So, yeah, you know, a lot of pressure with it when you're using the Sentinel.
We're going to be on board with Ren. I really, really like that Ren is trying to hold his teams out. We did get the stick onto the Seer. We should see some pretty heavy incoming damage here, although Ren left with like 30 hit points and a dream right here. 56 damage off of the higher tier armor. Not able to capitalize off of any of that because of the team that is camping up on the top of the silo here, and they are going to be denying them the ability to rotate downward. So this is going to be a little bit of a stalemate. I actually like where Ren is, because if Ren is able to stay below this team and hold out some of the teams in the tunnel for additional angles right there, Ren is in theory actually safer than the place that they were before, because they were trapped between 2 teams. Now they're able to use that team on height almost as leverage to block off pushers that may be rotating there. I don't think Ren's going to be able to get many kills in that specific place, but you could see a couple placement points move forward here. And of course, everybody's looking to move past that top 10. Now we are on board with that SBC team. This was the team that narrowly missed that kill onto Ren, but we have that Crypto drone, and Crypto is not one that we have seen a traditional or a consistent amount of times across the tournaments here. We would only see 1 or 2. So curious to see if that's going to play out any differently. Now, Crypto, again, in a Gibraltar meta, if you can use a Crypto correctly, Crypto's fantastic. And we are actually going to see a little bit of that come to fruition right now. The Crypto ult, the Arcstar Signy, with 15 hit points. It looks like Signy's going to fall to Team Baby right there. We do see all 3 players of that team alive, camping out this team. It looks like that player is going to die instantaneously, and that squad is going to be wiped.
Yeah, great damage. I mean, pushing in with those shotguns, like we said, the shotties on the Gibraltars are pretty meta right now. So we are seeing a lot of close range battles. We talked about it. It's partly due to the controller lobbies. You know, those close range battles are easier for the controller players to hit their shots on. But I mean, if you can get in there with a shotgun, a Mastiff, an EV8, you know, and hit your shots, I mean, you don't give the other team a lot of room to get out of those engagements. Is where, you know, in these long range battles, you know, these teams have the opportunity to take cover and potentially heal. So I just love to see the aggressive plays, especially with the shotguns. They'll always have a little place in my heart.
BWO Gaming out here, the meta slaves of the century. We've got an Octane with a gold helmet and an L-Star. This is exactly what I would expect to see in peak Apex tournament here. I will tease players all the time for orbiting the meta, but there's a reason it's the meta. You're not running the EV8, well, you're going to get killed by somebody who's running an EV8. Unfortunately, there are just some weapons that dominate, and the L-Star is exactly one of those. It's an automatic flashbang of a rifle right here, and you, of course, do need that Octane, but talk about the gatekeeping. We're headed into a pretty seriously damaging zone, and they're going to be kept out. Now, is this team going to spend too much time in this tunnel and not be able to rotate out? That's a tough question, because unfortunately the zone looks like it may be catching up to them. We're going to see Tony have to stop healing potentially just for a moment here in order to make sure that they don't get killed. But look at that. Their backs are to the zone there, so entirely safe. If a team tries to rotate behind them, that will kill them very, very quickly. We again see another L-Star SCP Superior. That's going to be our Crypto, but he's not going to make it. The Gibraltar is going to make it left in flesh as well. Nubicide opting not to heal and opting to do the damage so his team can get these kills and wipe, and then force for a re-pickup or a res right there. And that's exactly, I actually think, the wise situation in that engagement right there. We're going to see Annika able to get the med kit off as well. We're going to have a couple bodies to loot. We can use the geometry on the left-hand side of us to block some bullets here. This is a really, really great place for Team Dramatic to be. I was a little questioning that team comp initially, especially with a Seer, especially with a Wraith rather than an Octane. And I think this falls back to what we said earlier, Nate. If you've got a main and you're comfortable, it's better to be comfortable than play a meta character and feel weird.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, they're kind of showing why they were that number one spot right now. I mean, 4 squads remaining, and they all have red shields. They're in just an absolutely awesome position to win this game. It looks like they were able to get mostly healed up, if not all the way. They've got good guns, they've got good ammo, they've got good loot. So they're definitely, we're going to have to see how they play this last zone, as there are only 4 squads left, like I've said. It's going to be interesting. I'm going to try to play for Circle here if I'm Team Dramatic. We've seen a lot of great like gatekeeping from these teams so far, and a lot of teams have gone down due to Circle. So I think that would be my biggest priority right now if I was still in this top 4.
I agree, and I'm a little impressed that, or interested rather, considering that there's less Gibraltars in these top 5, top 4 teams here than we've seen traditionally. We've got 3 kills on the board for Taylor alone. This is going to be the Caustic POV that we currently have. We obviously see we have the ultimate, and this is a really frustrating character to fight against. If you make this to the final zone, you're going to see 2 or 3 Caustic ults, and it's pretty quickly going to devolve into only Caustics being able to survive and be on that team. Now, we saw that Seer Q come in, and Seer has not been particularly chosen across this tournament thus far. I believe literally Team Dramatic has been the only team with the Seer that we've been able to spectate in that POV. So we do know that Dramatic is trying to push up from under that banner there. A couple Caustic traps getting tossed, a couple of them getting negated as well. We do see the gas ticking on the bottom left of your screen. Caustic shields were taking there, so we were definitely getting some gas damage ticks there as well, so to evo that armor. But this is a great position for them to be in, dodging the Seer Q. The Crypto ult's going to come in. That's going to hit Noobicide on that corner of the rock. You see Zidane and Noob both are going to be pushing up right there, but I believe Zidane is going to be, if I'm not mistaken, their Seer, so you're not going to really have mobility to get out of that engagement. That's a very rough, aggressive push for this roster. Looks like we are going to see a bleed out of Rainbow Ape in the background there, and Hausen is going to be taking out Pew. So we do see 2 players on other teams knocked. These look to be the only 2 fully alive teams left in the lobby.
Yeah, there's probably one solo just sneaking around in the shadows. I mean, they've already made their way to top 3, which is great. We saw some great third-party collapsing from these 2 teams. They were able to take out that last squad really pretty quickly, but it does look like Team Baby's low on heals. BWO Gaming has just been laying down the fire on both of these squads, kind of keeping them both at bay. They have the high ground, and it also appears that they have the zone on their side right now. And, there it goes, man.
Wow.
Taking the game.
BWO Gaming, our 17th place squad, not even top 10, not top 15, is going to take out not only 2 of our top 10, but 2 of our top 5 teams are going to fall right there. So incredibly, incredibly impactful performance from them. Nate, this is one of those things that we had talked about. Are we going to see the same teams just kind of orbit in the same way that they dominated those previous lobbies, or did all of these top 20 teams kind of earn a spot? Now, it's pretty early to call maybe, oh, BWO's got it, they're the shutout team. I can't necessarily say that, but that's a very convincing performance from a team that's otherwise not so stacked on the leaderboard. How are you feeling after that matchup?
Man, that was super exciting for me to watch. I kind of loved that they were that meta pick that we had talked about. That they had the Bloodhound, the Gibraltar, and the Octane. They had all their bases covered. They were playing zone quite well. They were hitting their shots. They were doing their damage. I mean, what else can you want? I would like to say, man, a little bit of RNG is going to be the factor. Are we going to see these same teams kind of dominate? But like you said, I think all of these teams have shown that they're capable of having a good round or two, and they've earned their slots in this top 20. I mean, what can you do? Like, everybody's shown that they can take a game and win a game and play fundamentally solid Apex. So very impressed by Team BWO Gaming right now. I'm super stoked to see if they're going to keep that meta, if they're going to continue to run the same legends, and I'm excited to see what they do in the rest of the games coming up.
As will I. And of course, guys, this is game 1 of 6 for our CGL Summer Series here in the EU. So before we head into our next game, I am going to throw us to a quick break. Of course, we do want to transition, let the players in between games. I mean, so maybe you got to clean your joystick, maybe you got to use the restroom, got to get some water, because all these players, we want them in their peak performance, because we want the best gameplay so we can deliver the best show. So of course, we are going to throw to a quick break. Before we go, I do want to shout out, of course, CGL has decked me out in some incredibly nifty threads. Let's see if I picked the right shoulder. If you're on the last broadcast, I was pointing to the wrong shoulder each time. But new.gg with console gaming is going to be where you are going to be able to find that merch. And then you will be able to find links for that as well on their Twitter account at Console Gaming LG. So if you want to stay up to date on the Apex action, the Tekken, the Mortal Kombat, the Halo, you name it, CGL's got it. Pick your poison. They have it. Go ahead and follow them on those socials. Stay engaged with us. And Nate and I will be right back with you for game number 2. And I said 5 minute break and we'd be right back. And here we are. Of course, I'm your host, Dragonite, joined by Nate Dogg, Tenacious Nacho. We just watched an explosive and odd game number one. 17th seed, if I'm not mistaken, BWO Gaming taking out, I believe, a third and a fifth place seed in the previous match right there. So again, we talked about a little shakeup, and all of these teams otherwise had earned their way into this. I mean, obviously, beautiful splash screen from, again, we talk about the production quality behind CGL. It's such a gift to get to work with this team here. Absolutely beautiful. But that's going to show your kills, assists, and damage of the number one player on that team here. But we had talked about how all of these teams earned their place. There were very few teams that probably just squeaked by because of some weird technicality in the lobby. Man, my Gibraltar ult ticked this guy who had 7 health, and I happened to get the one kill pushing me over into the 10th place mark. Very, very rarely, in my opinion, is that what happened here. And of course, that 17th seed really showing us the truth. But Nate, I wanted to kind of dig into maybe what and why. We talked about a lot of character meta. We had talked about a lot of different things. There's two things that we haven't gotten to touch on. One of them was the different weapons that we're going to see all these players use, because of course, across Apex, you have controller players, you have mouse and keyboard players. Most teams have hybrids where you have usually 2 mouse and key and a controller. This is a controller exclusive tournament. So you do need to be running that console-like setup, hence the console name. So you're going to see a lot of different guns there. What was speaking to you in terms of the gun meta? What did you see a lot of? What are you hoping to see?
I feel like last game we saw a lot of shotgun play, and we also saw a lot of just basic assault rifle play. We saw a little bit of some sniping go down as we had a player using the Sentinel, which was kind of, in my opinion, you don't really see controller players rocking the sniper or marksman weapons as often. Um, we're kind of in an LMG meta, and I haven't really seen any light machine guns really be utilized. We saw that L-Star be used a little bit. Didn't really see too much Rampage this game. Maybe that's due to the nature of the gun. It's a little bit better on mouse and key versus controller, but also the RNG we talked about. You kind of got to be able to run with whatever guns you get. And like you said, it can be an investment. If I invest in an AR, I don't want to switch guns and lose all my attachments halfway through the round unless I can make sure I get, attachments for my new gun. So it's just all things to think about. We've got Team Vittori in the number one slot right now, just based
that
on
was a
points.
technicality. Just to clear that up for those folks, because 810 placement points is not the accurate placement right there. I believe BWO is in first place, and we are going to have production go ahead and take that over. But Nate, continue with your gun meta. Excuse me, I just wanted to clear that up.
So we saw a little bit of marksman weapons, kind of. We're gonna see a lot of shotguns. Like you said, the Mastiff and the EV8 are kind of like dominating the meta right now. As well, I mean, I haven't really seen too much submachine gun play. Kind of hard to say. If you're running like shotgun SMG, you kind of have to be like ready to collapse, and you can't really be playing the distance game. So in my opinion, specifically for this event, I think it would be a little bit better to kind of have like your close range covered with a shotgun, and then your mid to long range covered maybe with an AR, maybe with a light machine gun. We're gonna have to see how it plays out, because RNG is definitely a factor.
Now, again, I brought up the controller versus mouse and keyboard, and of course, that's going to be the constant in Apex. I mean, you log onto Twitter, PvPX has posted some clout chasing tweet there, and is trying to get some engagement, saying that tap strafing is good and aim assist is bad, and now his Twitter impressions are through the roof. Right? That's the usual scene that we see through Apex. I think they both have fantastic places in the meta. I think the controller aim assist has a place because controller needs aim assist. On the other hand, I think mouse and keyboard has a lot of benefit, but we're not in a mouse and keyboard tournament, which does change, again, I think, a lot of things. One of the guns that comes to mind for me that I see a lot of high tier players, I would see like a TSM Alberlele. I'll see a Mandy from Team Scars. I mean, we'll see a lot of those different players orbit using the Rampage. We have not seen the Rampage, I think, in any POV at all throughout this tournament here. And the Rampage is an interesting one, because that is going to be your doorbuster kit. This is going to be your revised ranking as well. There's our BWO team on the top there, but Dramatic, very, very close behind. Same with Team Baby. A little bit of a shakeup, though. Like a fourth place AAS Red, if I'm not mistaken, is going to be 17th. So it looks like they took the direct swap from BWO Gaming. I mean, what does this leaderboard say to you, Nate?
Well, we kind of saw this happen in the last broadcast. I believe the team who took the first game wound up with 15 kill points and then got the placement points. And I want to say it was the exact same numbers. And that was the team that wound up winning. So to me, if you're BWO Gaming, you've established that you have a dominating point lead. You're not even close to being touched unless you're in the top 3, right? So they really have to worry about Team Dramatic and Team Baby. But BWO is in just a great spot. I don't want to say they're going to throw matches, but if they have a bad round or two, it's okay because they've secured that many points. 15 kill points in a round is kind of remarkable. So hats off to them. Like I said, they were shooting good. I didn't realize how good they were shooting. Because 15 kill points is just such a dominating pad. But this is an RNG kind of game, and for every team that takes first, there's going to be a team who takes last. There's going to be a team who gets knocked first. There's going to be teams that don't, get kill points. So we see all these teams on the bottom here. They could have a great round next game. And we kind of saw this happen in the last broadcast, is where we saw, teams that had a very good round early on, maybe had a couple bad rounds or didn't get very many points. So yeah, to me, this just screams that BWO Gaming has a nice juicy lead. And if they continue to play their game the way they're doing it, they're in a great position to potentially win today.
I agree. And I think your point about getting that stat padding is absolutely impactful right there too, because you need that in an RNG based game. I mean, we talked about this in the previous broadcast as well. It's kind of a consistent theme across Apex. The most skilled player does not always win, which is a really difficult place to be. So we could attribute this BWO to right place, right time. Maybe they don't deserve that win, but RNG gave it to him. On the other hand, what it looked like to me was they had the gun skill to back up the benefit of luck. That's what they got. They got both sides of the coin right there, and that's what's going to walk them away with the victory here. But there's a chance that they're going to be in the back end of that coin. They're going to lose that 50-50 coin toss, and they're going to go a game with 1 KP and 12th place. And they're going to immediately be tied with another team in the threshold, excuse me. So Nate, like you had said, we need to pad that so unbelievably hard. You need to make sure every time you get an inch, you take a mile.
So, I play Halo. I come from a Halo background. That is my number one probably love in my heart in terms of video games. And the advice that was given to me by a Halo player was that great players always do everything they can to put themselves in an advantageous position. This means a lot of things to me, and I think it's applicable through all games. The teams who are going to succeed today are going to be the ones who can take those RNG wins and those RNG losses. Okay, so you didn't get great loot. What should we do now? Maybe back off and not try to engage. Let's try to play for loot. So the players that are doing the most things to kind of benefit themselves, their situation, play for the back of circle. Make sure you can't get flanked. Make sure you've got, your meds, your guns covered, high ground, even play for the high ground. The players who are consciously making those little micro decisions are going to be the ones that are going to have the best luck today, I think.
Absolutely. I mean, you see again, people joke on different social media platforms about all aim, no brain for different players of different tiers, and I think that can really come into play in Apex a lot because the game is in theory gunplay centric, but there are so many additional factors at a high tier, like you had said, height variance, different character meta, weapon utility, even attachments that go onto guns. If there's an attachment that people traditionally favor, but you don't play well with it. I run a 1X on my R301. I'm just insane because people prefer the Bruiser. I just like the way it looks with the dot sight, just personally, and I find that I perform better, even though that's not the traditional way to run that weapon. So, I mean, again, there's all of those micro decisions, exactly as Nate had said. They can play a bigger portion here, but it looked like we did see, I think, 3 teams land at some point in Fragment here. So that is definitely going to be probably a fight off the rip, or at least close to the beginning of the match, if we can get that here. Of course, we got that beautiful cinematography here. We're panning over the top, waiting for a POV to swap onto one of those teams as we head into our game number 2 of 6. So we're not even halfway through. We are right on a third. We are not even ready for a full third of the gameplay here, but we are going to swap over to Team Lays Are Healthy, that I don't believe placed too terribly high in the previous series here, landing in, I believe, Skyhook here. And it looks like we're going to see that Bloodhound run to Bloodhound Town into the trials. It looks like it's potentially going to activate that.
And that's something I feel like we didn't really get to see the last game. The trials are a great way to kind of secure good loot. The game is RNG, and you're going to get some good loot at trials. This comes as a double-sided, coin. Not only do you have to fight the hounds, you also have to potentially fight other players that may hear that shooting going on, and they may be, trying to come in and steal your loot. So if you do have that opportunity to kind of rush an early game trials, like, why not go for it? And that was something we saw the last broadcast. We saw a lot of trials play. So again, it's another RNG factor, but it can really make or break. If you get some good shielding, you get some good guns, you get some good attachments, those trials could benefit you and put you in a better position to be able to, win your engagements. One extra chunk of shield could be the difference in a gunfight.
Absolutely. And I would like to, if we can have the a POV swap back over to the team baby that's going to be fighting over towards lava, it looks like towards maybe towards the dome there in Lava City. If we can get that swap over, because it looked like that team was going to be our third place team from the previous matchup, and they're already in engagement with still all 19 squads left. So if that team's going to fall out, there is a potential for us to see a team that should have made it through, maybe not make it. We are going to be on the POV of Animal, though. NML is going to be this team right here, and this is going to be our Exodia Kapalifa. This is going to be our Kirito there. So we did see that Rampage employed pretty well there. And it looks like a flatline in a dream, unfortunately. Arc is left here with literally 8 bullets in the gun. We also have the Gold Maz, which is pretty punishing at a distance here. It looks like they are going to be opting to try to thirst that player. Blue Wizard in the kill feed as well. That player that we had seen opt for the Sentinel in the previous survey camp engagement in game number 1 is going to be getting a kill with an R301 in the kill feed as well. And I like wisely going for the angles on this thirst here. That player very much overextended.
You know, I love the discipline out of Nitro Panthers right now. I can't believe that the Mozam has done so much damage at this distance. You know, kind of, I would have probably panicked myself and charged in with the Mozam to try to get closer range shots, a little more damage. But I love that he actually didn't, you know. I probably would have panicked when my line ran out of bullets. And, you know, he just kind of played the Mozam at distance and got that chip damage, and they were able to knock that player and take him out.
Yeah, and I like the rotation right here too, because they were able to get that thirst right there, and you even saw the Gibby hold for just a little bit longer right there at the end, because the Gibby could hold and dome if need be to protect themselves, and it was letting the Octane push out with advanced speed to be able to go try to get some loot here. Now we are going to see that Havoc is going to come into play right there, but we're going to swap POVs. This is Stick, Drift, Crude. This is actually the butt end of the team we just saw enter some combat right there. So it looks like Signy is trying to ping that armor for a teammate there, and Fusion was the Octane that we saw knocked and thirsted right there. It looks like his teammate there, Senker, is going to be using the mobile respawn. So whether they're actually going to execute with that, or whether they're just intending to call it as almost a distraction and then pivot to another beacon is still up in the air. But pretty gutsy to call down a mobile respawn with this many teams still left in the game. That's going to be literally, we talk about blood in the water. That's it. That's where people are going to go.
Yeah, I mean, we have all been there. You hear the reboot coming and, okay, let's charge. Let's get this player before they're able to get any loot, before they're able to get any gear. You know, it's almost a free kill if you can get there in time. Also, you know, what if it's, you know, more than one revive? If you're reviving 2 players and you have 2 players with no guns. In this case, it's only 1, but all these Apex players kind of know, like, okay, when the reboot's coming, you don't want that player to get kitted up again, because that's one more player you have to worry about. They want to make sure those players get taken back out as quickly as possible. So risky plays with the respawn beacon. You're kind of drawing all eyes to yourself. We're gonna have to see if they're able to get it off and get their teammate re-kitted up.
This is a great fight to be spectating as well. This is our number 5 seed, Vittori, currently in second place. I think in second place by about 9 points of a difference right there. Again, this is that team Vittori here. So obviously them being in a fight again this early, 18 squads still left in the lobby. Literally only one team has been fully wiped. A couple teams down a player or two. But I mean, this is a team to watch. I believe this team actually right here. This is our team Vittori here. I think the team name there is listed as spectator. I think, unfortunately, as there is of course, lobby bugs in traditional Apex, as we all know. We're gonna swap back over to the POV of Animal though, and it looks like Animal was gonna be the team or one of those teams that was shooting at Team Vittori. You see, I believe Caustic with what looks like a longbow in their hands. That's going to be Kapalifa, and then of course your Gibraltar with a long-range gun as well, which we do love to see, because of course you have that gun shield employed every time you hold that hard scope. So this is pretty traditionally what you would see from a Gibraltar, and this is a great way to farm shields, make sure you don't take extra damage and have to waste extra meds, because you've got that 50 damage arm shield with a little bit of bleed through right there as well. So just, I mean, obviously completely to benefit. Now, it looks like Signy, though, on the right-hand side of our screen, a little bit of health down. It looks like his teammate as well, but this was the team with Fusion. So Fusion was able to at least respawn and regroup with his teammates. So obviously not very kitted. We see that white armor. We actually also see what I believe is their Gibraltar not even healing a shield right there. So whether they have the shields to expend on it or not, kind of tells me they might not be in the best of places, Nate.
Yeah, I mean, but it's tough to say, right? Like, I was just about to say, like, I, as a player, do not like rushing into buildings to go try to fight another squad. I think those, if you're charging in, you're at the disadvantage because the other team is hunkered down and ready to fight. So I think it's kind of one of those cases where the other squads may not want to rush in and try to get those players, even though they don't have very much gear, because they are rushing in kind of blind. They don't know what the other players have. They don't know what they're doing. And it looks like this... One Up Gaming squad is kind of just leaving them there and trying to play for zone and you know, high ground and positioning. So I kind of like that play to just, you know, that squad's kind of not kitted. They're kind of stuck in the building. What are they going to do? Let's just get out of here. Let's go play the circle and worry about them later. We're going to have to see where this next circle goes, because I really do think that's going to influence whether they keep pushing in on this backside of circle here, or what's going to happen. But I just really heads up play. I like that, they got out. They didn't risk losing characters. They didn't waste resources. They just kind of got out to fight another day.
So this is a series of unfortunate fights here. So it looks like that team that we were talking about, Team Victoria, has rotated towards Climatizer from the train tracks at the back of their initial engagement, and Skyhook right there. They were able to wipe an entire squad, but unfortunately, it looks like Hyde was picked out of the air by the Gibraltar. So unfortunately, that player is going to fall, and it looks like Hyde is going to get thirsted as well. That's going to be Chief with that thirst right there, and Hyde was going to go down. Looks like Fodorino was a player that had actually died previously in a different engagement. That's part of the AAS Red Squad. I believe that is their Octane. And so unfortunately, we see quite a few players down. I don't know if Hyde's entire roster has died, or if Snifty was able to get out, pick up a banner, and at least get somewhere out of there. But if not, that is a pretty early loss for Team Victoria right there. This is exactly what we were talking about. In a much higher tier lobby, we're going to see far more squads survive throughout the length of the game itself. I mean, this is a tough place to be, and it looks like Team Victoria definitely is still in it. We did not get to get the banner, though. So they may be down a man entirely throughout the rest of this entire series, or this entire game, excuse me.
So I want to talk about the circle right now. As a player, this circle is terrible to me. You've got the back of circle, which is where I would like to go as a player to minimize, all the flanking angles. But it's downhill. The back of circle is on a downhill slope. So if you go to that back of circle to kind of prevent yourself from getting flanked, you are putting yourself at a height discrepancy. And height advantage in a game with bullet drop is so massive. That it's kind of an unfortunate circle, but there's fortunately some buildings there so that they can hunker down and stay in cover. That third circle is gonna be very interesting to see. It's kind of what I'm most excited for in this match so far, is what's gonna happen with that third circle.
I agree. And this team that we're spectating here, this is going to be in the no man's land here. This is usually a beacon building here. And it looks like Stick Drift Crew is going to be running up on Team Baby. So that's going to be your Obelix, Mr. Taylor, and Live a Little Baby. Of course, that I believe got third in the previous fight there. Second or third in the previous match. And so, of course, this is going to be another one of those fights with our currently high-placed teams. We've got that beautiful picture in picture, so we've got the wonderful flyover, and then we've got the POV of our player Signy here. That's going to be our Bloodhound. And again, we're talking about a Bloodhound, not a Seer once again. So obviously the Scout's going to come into play here. I really like that. I think that tree providing annoying amounts of cover right there. And the beam comes in from the adjacent building, that lip on the edge of the building, almost spelling death for Signy, but he's going to be able to pop a Phoenix Kit and get back out of there. I believe this is actually now maybe a third squad getting involved right here from a distance over towards Overlook. It looks like there may be a team kind of rotating down from that hill next to the hill banner up at the top. And we do now see an angry ping from the Gibraltar as well on the team Senker to Fusion, trying to indicate that there is potentially a team walking up on the back of the garage here as well. So Signy's still on the roof trying to get some views on that, but we see that red ping on the left-hand side of our screen indicating that we may see a fourth party coming in.
I mean, this is kind of, a high-risk engagement because that circle's closing, so you're kind of like, I don't love the engagement. Like, yes, you can play for those kill points, but that circle's closing. All these teams are going to have to scramble to get into zone while trying to not get shot, while also trying to shoot the other squads running in. It just spells chaos to me, and it super high risk, maybe high reward. We're going to have to see, because I mean that circle is closing.
Yeah, and we are going to be in zone 2, so I mean the zone damage isn't going to be necessarily insane, but again, if you're trying to fight an entire team while health damage is ticking you, pretty much anything outside of zone 1 is not going to be favorable to fight in, coupled with the fact that if you're the team stuck in the zone, you're effectively blind and you have motion shake. So on top of your character running, on top of you ADSing and having sway, on top of bullet punch, which is what happens if you get shot and it swings your scope kind of wildly, you'll also be taking incoming tick damage, which will once again sway your scopes. I mean, it's pretty unfavorable to fight in. I agree with your assessment, Nate, that pretty much at no point do you really want to have that be something that you have to be fighting in. Now, this is Nubicide, excuse me, that we had that POV on that Caustic for just a moment heading up at the top of Epicenter. So that's going to be another one of our top 5 players. That's going to be our Dramatic. That's technically our team that I believe is in second place currently after that initial matchup there. So this is a really tough call, because I think that's a team to spectate. I think that height advantage with a Caustic is very good. I think that team is going to be able to make it endgame, but that RNG factor, that win that got BWO in the previous matchup here, padded them so well that Dramatic, to retake their first place throne, is going to have to fight incredibly, incredibly hard.
Yeah, I was actually, you took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say, they look like they're set up in a very good spot. And this all boils back to, I talked about it earlier, doing all the things that you can to put yourself in the best situations, kind of to mitigate risks. They had height advantage. They were in the zone. They were kitted. They had the caustic up there. They were just a very good spot for them to be in. And I think that's why they were our first place team for qualifying. They are currently not in first place due to points, but that's what I want to see out of the #1 qualifying team. I want to see them playing for height, playing for zone, not pushing overzealously, and so far they're showing it to us.
Yeah, there's a lot of discipline, I think, out of that team and out of Team Baby here that we have in the market, though. But Nate, to agree with your assessment right there, consistency is key. I'll take second place every game with 10 kill points over one singular game with first place and 15, and then 10th place every time after that. So, I mean, I think that steady pacing is very, very important here. But we have BWO Gaming, our previous first place players, facing off against Baby, which again was another, I believe, top 5 in the previous matchup there. So again, these are all great placings for these teams here, but that Caustic Barrel is going to go off. So that's going to tell that Caustic team a couple things here. That A, either players are pushing, or B, they fell directly into it and they're turtling back down. But either way, you should look at that POI where you drop that off. Now, we are swapping to a POV here into Epicenter. That's going to be Poca. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe we do have the roster for Poca up on the board here. It's going to take me just a moment to try to peek for that. But this is going to be, it looks to be a top epi to bottom epi engagement. We do see that player up at the top trying to get that visual right there. Poca's team is going to drop the bubble down. And unfortunately, the team above them does not appear to have very much loot, but they definitely do have the height to benefit.
I don't know if the height is going to be enough here. If their shields are looking that bad, what do their guns look like is the question in my head. And, the other team had just so much more HP that I don't know if height advantage is going to be enough for them, because the other team is just so much better equipped to have the gunfight engagements. It's, I don't know. I can't call it. I don't know what's going to happen with that fight.
Swapping back over to No Way FKB, one of our previous, again, well-placing teams here. I believe they operated right on the top 10, if I'm not mistaken. They were technically second place in the seeding, however, for this event. This is going to be Franz, iCrypto, and Zypir. And unfortunately, it does look like Zypir either lagged out, didn't make it into the lobby. It looks like something may have happened there. We're going to see Gibraltar opt for the syringe, and the whole team is out just to bleed out damage from the zone right there. So again, we've talked about never wanting to get caught in that zone. Look at how punishing Ring 3 is already, Nate. Is Octane almost at half health for about 3 solid seconds in the zone. That is not anything you want to be fighting.
Yeah, and they're not in a very good spot right here. They're kind of stuck on this ice pillar, or their other option would be to maybe drop down and try to push to circle from low ground. But they are definitely backs to circle here. It's not looking good for them. We see the Octane pad. They're trying to make their escape now. But, if I'm Team Baby, I'm going to try to collapse on these two players and get the kills, because it's almost free kill points if you ask me.
That was fantastic Rampage damage, though, Nate. We talked about wanting to see the Rampage, and those guys were like, fine, we'll give them a first place seat to it. Enjoy. Not only a Rampage, but we'll hop it up with the Thermal, so everybody can spectate that and get to see that from a first-person POV. That Octane melted that player with that Rampage and a little bit of additional damage from their Gibby. So very, very big right there. This is going to be the NEL Ravens, though. This looks like Sino and a Let's Go Baby. Now, whether or not that just happens to be gamertag or a little bit of encouragement for Team Baby and Live a Little Baby, I'm not entirely sure. It might be a wink wink and a nod, but I think maybe a little coincidental. But we're back to having Ren, the solo Wraith, staying alive. That's exactly what we saw. Ren, unfortunately, not able to make it past that top 8 in the previous lobby, stuck between literally a rock and a hard place trying to fight at Gibraltar and Skyhook in the previous matchup. But Ren at least able to hopefully get some placement points for the team.
And as they're hunkering down trying to get their shields back, you see the sonar detected, and that it can be kind of like a mental intimidation thing, because when I see that, I know the other players are looking and they know where I am. So in my opinion, I need to get out, and this is what they do. They pushed out probably because they saw the sonar, and Shifuyu is immediately melted for it. We're gonna have to see if they're able to get him up, as we do see the Gibraltar bubble go down, and we've got the Bloodhound sonar scan, so they kind of have a good idea of where these players are going to be coming in from. Are they going to have the heals, and are they going to get the heals off in time is the question now. As it looks like another party is coming in. Team Vittori is laying down some damage. We have one of the players broke now, 6 HP. We're doing the long range EV8 shots, just trying to get as much damage as we can. The Octane had to launch out of the airstrike here. I love that play, but it looks like that zone's coming in and he's taking the storm damage. He may go down to storm here.
It looks like that's exactly what's going to happen. Deadly Kitten's going to fall to storm. Snifty being the last player alive from this roster, at least alive I mean, that player is going to get killed into the zone. The respawn has timed out from Hyde. We saw that player originally die in the Climatizer significantly earlier. It looks like Jifuyu is able to pop some shields and potentially at least out heal in the storm there. The scout shots are going directly in. That is going to be the ROO team from Russo is the player there that is going to fall. Win for the money, though, with incredible shots from the scout. We saw that player beam some scout shots on the Octane padding team earlier that pretty much disrupted Snifty and that roster as well. We have the teammates, of course, on SFC just trying to zone in and make sure they can steal those extra little kills on those players. You have a gold mag on that flat line as well that is going to be on the first POV of the screen. That's going to be super important as well because that gold mag effectively being a purple mag with a backpack reload. And if you're in a clutch fight, you pump all the shots out of your EVA 8 and you just swap back to your weapon, that reload can be very, very, very impactful in some of those engagements. If your opponent, does have to reload, you do not.
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing I noticed with this SFC squad right now is that 2 of the players have scouts with purple mags on them. So that's kind of scary if you're in a mid-range engagement or a long-range engagement with 2 players on a squad who both have scouts with 20-round clips. That's a lot of damage that you can output. That's a lot of like bullets that you're going to have to worry about. That, you know, they don't really have to reload as often, and they have the like ability to just keep laying down fire and keep outputting damage. So they're just in a really good position that, you know, they're good on health. I think they're playing that long range game quite well right now.
I agree. And we do see this team on the right-hand side of our screen. That's going to be Twitch Fusion. Obviously, very important that Fusion is still alive in here because that was actually the team, I believe that was the second player to die in the lobby. Quite a while ago, we ended up seeing that player get thirsted. That was the player that got killed by the Octane with the Mozambique. This is the Stick Drift crew that we saw on the right-hand side of our screen there. And we see in the first-person POV from Let's Go Baby of the NEL Ravens right here. We see that 34 tick on the damage, 240 ticks. This is a lot of damage coming out of that Gibraltar ult on that player. They knew that the bubble had already been played. We do see Poka and that crew also below. We do see still 1, maybe 2. We're not entirely sure if the scan was going to hit at that distance. It looks like it's going to. We are very close to leveling up armor on both of these players on the NEL Ravens. They've bought themselves all the way to top 6. No KP, it looks like, across the roster, but I mean, they're buying themselves placement points, which is definitely very, very important.
You know, they're gonna have to push out of here now as that storm is pushing them out of their high ground. It looks like they're actually getting clobbered by storm. Are they gonna go down to storm damage? We're gonna have to see. We've got some other action. Team SFC is hiding out in the caustic gas. Looks like they're going to start rotating in towards this zone. We've got players on the low ground here, and this is what I was talking about earlier. They've got these scouts, and it's fish in a barrel. They have the high ground. They don't have to worry about the bullet drop. They can just rain fire on these players, launching grenades, hitting some damage, throwing some more stars. Man, this is what you want to see out of SFC. This is what I was talking about. They're in such a good position to just keep doing this damage to these players. They have no cover, nowhere to go, nowhere to hide. They're going to start pushing in now. Let's see what happens.
You know, I love that we really saw the dollar store version of the Gibraltar bombardment and then the real deal. They were like, yeah, you can have the Kroger great value. We're going to throw 46 grenades aerially on top of you. And then to punctuate the whole thing, then we're going to use the actual Gibraltar bombardment. I mean, that's so punishing, Nate. I mean, just a ton of damage. I mean, we saw, I think, 160 damage from one singular Arc Star out of Leveratia right here for Team SFC. And they are going to be looking to camp out these players. But again, look at the scouts on this team. I mean, the aim assist and the raw aim is both incredibly strong with this roster. That Valk tactical that you aren't always going to see is going to come into play right here. So that stunned that player behind the rock. This is the player's Skies. This is that Octane. Unfortunately, he is finally going to fall to Der Schmeiser in that POV right there. We are going to see that flatline, of course, my current favorite weapon, come into play. And Signy, a solo Bloodhound, I believe. So it looks like we might not even have any full teams other than this Team SFC.
You know, dude, SFC's looking like they play Halo right now. They are creating angles. They are triangulating on these solos, and they're just giving them no room to work with. I mean, that's how Halo is played. You know, these teams are just triangulating on these solo players. They're collapsing. They're raining fire down. They have nowhere to go. Like you said, I believe they're the only squad. It looks like they've definitely got this dub secured as they are able to close out that last kill. Man, what a match. You know, we kind of called it earlier in the game. They were just looking too set up to have anything go wrong and able to close it out.
Yeah, I'm really impressed, and I'd love to see some of the stats if we can eventually of win for the money right there, because there were a couple engagements where we were on like a POV of, for instance, the Gibraltar when they were fighting Snifty's team, Vittori, and Vittori was forced to send around with an Octane pad, and all of a sudden, all of them turn into death boxes. And we just I mean, midair, we get a body bag flying through the air, and I'm just thinking to myself, man, that's some beaming coming from the scouts. So incredible gameplay. I mean, just incredible props to Team SFC, who I don't think plays terribly, but didn't place incredibly high in the previous matchup here. So we're early enough into the series, Nate, that each team's victory can be a shakeup.
Yeah, I mean, if they were, I don't remember if they were able to secure points. It's being tallied up off screen right now, so we're gonna see it in just a moment. But I mean, hey, man, they certainly they had kills. They all were killing. They all were doing damage, and they got those placement points. So was it enough to catapult them back into first place? It's gonna be tough to say. But hey, like you said, a first place victory. Now we have two teams contending for first place. And that's two teams that are gonna have to continue to play well. Now we kind of got this storyline unfolding, right? We have two teams kind of okay, and then if it let's say somebody else wins game three, then that's three teams who are all eligible for first place. So I think we've got an exciting event right off the bat. I love that, we didn't see one squad win the first two games. I love that RNG kind of variability is kind of mixing it all up and keeping it spicy for us today.
Exactly. And guys, Nate said it perfectly. We have a storyline unfolding. We got 6 full chapters. We just finished chapter 2 and we're left on a cliffhanger. We don't necessarily know what the protagonists are doing, who's got the points, what's the story. We'll know as soon as we get back. We've got some beautiful replays to rig for you. Nate and I will be back to bring you all the action. Like always, of course, courtesy break for the players, courtesy break for the viewers. We'll give you guys just a minute. Get your food, get your drink. Of course, we're not even 50% through. We are headed to the halfway point. Nate and I are going to take you the whole home stretch, but we're right on that halfway point. We will be right back with you, folks. Don't you go anywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, we are men of our words. We said a 5-minute break and a 5-minute break right on the nose. Of course, I am your host and first chair Dragonite. I am joined by Tenacious Nacho, Mr. Nate Dogg. But before we get into our gameplay, we wanted to give a thanks, a round two closing thanks, of course, to the Console Gaming LG, the Console Gaming League, for having us here, not only for this broadcast, but the one previous on the 21st, where we saw the 40 teams duke it out down to this top 20, but also to the team Yes. You're going to see a nifty indicator at the bottom right hand corner of your screen that says YES. That is actually going to be a partner for this broadcast here, and that is going to be a tournament engraving and a glass etching and engraving supply shop that you can find online. That's going to be etsy.com/shop/your engraving supplies. So you've got that YES acronym. And I don't know if we happen to have a graphic rigged up. We can work with production so you guys can get to see it. But the winners of this event are going to get not only, of course, a prize, but they're going to get their own glass trophies. They're going to get their own custom trophies for this event here. So incredible stuff, of course, out of the console gaming team. I mean, always we talk about top-notch production, little wink, wink, nudge, nudge. They might even have some pretty good casters on deck, but they have some incredible prizes that go along with usually the cash that you're able to win. But this is going to be our game 2 MVP. I said it when we were closing out that game. Nate and I had a great conversation in between the break that we just knew Win for the Money was in it for the money. I mean, Nate, talk to me about these stats, man. What do these tell you?
I mean, so we've got 7 kills, 4 assists, 1371 for damage. Obviously the first place placement, but I mean, this team was shooting well. They played the mid-range, range game very, very good. They were using the scouts. They were just raining fire. We saw at the end, they kind of set up for high ground. They got a little lucky with circle, and all those other squads were kind of scrapping at the bottom of the hill. I kind of mentioned that when we saw that second ring. I was like, okay, the second ring is bad because if you go to back a circle, you're at the height discrepancy. And Win for the Money was laying down shots and just hitting shots, getting the knocks, getting the kills. Just great, great gameplay for Win for the Money right there. It was really top tier gameplay.
One thing that speaks to me, based off exactly what you're saying, for Win for the Money and that team entirely by association, Win for the Money didn't actually have that much damage, right? I mean, we're talking end game, so you're talking blue, purple, red shields, right? Blue would probably be the weakest that you'd see. Maybe, I mean, I guess an errant white on like a respawn character, but those players all fought to be there. So, I mean, that's a lot, or that's actually not a lot of damage for that amount. I believe we saw 1337. We saw the elite damage out of Win for the Money right there, but 7 kills. I mean, if your player has an average of 200 health with purple armor, they weren't even fighting full shielded players. I mean, that was a team shot. That was team centric at its finest. But Nate, look at what we've got. BWO Dramatic SFC 30-30-28. That's a tough place to be.
We have an event on our hands here, everybody. This is crazy because now we've got such a close like tie for third that we have 3 different teams that are contending for first place right now, with Team Baby not very far behind. Only 7 points separate them from BWO and Dramatic for first place. I'm very happy to see Dramatic back with the 30 kill tied for first place, as they were our number 1 qualifier. So it's good to see them performing as well as they looked on paper. Team SFC taking the game last game, and we had good kills from them. They didn't really have a great first round, but they certainly made up for it with that last game because 28 points on the board. Wow.
Yeah, those placement points. I mean, to have a huge kill game like that, and then to have that placement points to couple it up, that's exactly what we saw from a BWO game number one. That's exactly what we've seen consistently now. Nate, this is what we had talked about when we saw that team rotate to the top of Epicenter, right? We had talked about how consistency can sometimes beat a blow up game, right? If you're going to have a series that's more than 4 games, like I've seen a lot of ALGS tournaments that unfortunately only have 4 games, so a team that's able to walk away with a win and then some sloppy, okay top 5 placings gets you a W. When you have 6 games in a series, there's a lot less things that are left up to chance, which is a really great balancer for an RNG style game like Apex. Because the more games you play, you can level luck plus gun skill plus game skill. So it's a really great neutralizer. We've got those full 6 games here, and it's wild to see Dramatic not get any first place and be tied for first place.
So I want to say last broadcast, I want to say at the end of the event, the first place team had about 68 points. I could be wrong here, but that's what I remember. That's the number that's sticking out into my mind. So we're in, going into game 3, and we only have 30 points on the board for 3 teams. So to me, that's, we're right on the mark with where the points should be. But the fact that we've got 3 teams so closely knit at this moment in time is like, they really have their work cut out for them in these next 3 matches that they have to perform. They can't afford to have an off game, because one off game could separate you from first place and second place. One off game could separate you from not even making top 3. It's tough to say. But you definitely just kind of have to take it one game at a time and try to play your best game and hope that, that little bit of RNG luck is on your side and you continue to do things that were making, that were working out for you in the first couple games, because they certainly have been working out.
Absolutely. I mean, and there's no, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? I
Right,
mean, that's
right.
kind of the age old. Don't reinvent the wheel. It's circular, it rolls, it moves. We don't have to go anywhere different than that. And we did actually just get confirmation from production here, something that we do want to note, that this team Dramatic, Zidane, Nubicide, and Lenica, excuse me, are high tier console preds. So not only a masters tier, but they are the actual grinding team. So obviously they have some synergy. They're friends. They orbit a group of high tier players as well. So there shouldn't be any question that they should be up at the top of the board. One of the things that I actually think that may be even more important to notice is the teams orbiting them in scoring points may not be masters or pred players. So this could be one of those whole falling guilty to, oh, I just don't have a team to grind with. I mean, you could be a platinum account, and if you're the guy who's got the best gun skill, in theory, you could land up against a predator. Now, do you think the odds of that are actually really high? Probably not. But there, I think, are some unsung heroes that we may be able to get to see in these lobbies. And tournaments like this are a perfect place to showcase that. Maybe you don't have the grind time. It takes hours to get to Predator. I haven't been a Predator since season 2.
I've never been a predator. The highest I've hit was platinum.
Nate is behind the desk, not on the sticks. That's why we're behind the desk, baby. I'm old and I'm retired. And Nate knows what's going on. Nate just doesn't play what's going on.
Yeah, it's one of those situations, it's tough to grind. I'm a solo queue warrior, so I do my best. But hey, man, plat, I'm happy with plat for the amount of time I put in.
For those of you, of course, that orbit a lot of Apex, Nate is going for the dollar store version of Shiv right here. We've got the Warlord beard and the hair going on. I mean, Nate is the NA version of Shiv. We'll get him on Bangalore and get him a little Bowie knife, and we'll get him launched right in. But we're gonna launch right into the game here as well. It's kind of brings a tear to your eye seeing Dramatic at that top left, seeing No Way, a team from our previous EU lobby. I mean, again, we've talked about this as we're heading into game number 3. All of these teams fought for their spot to be here. An A and a B lobby on the 21st. They earned their place. This was the 2 top 10 teams, or 2 groupings of top 10 from the previous A and B pools on the 21st. And it just makes me smile that a lot of the teams that you and I had watched and had noted for quality were the teams that made it through. So I might be a little bit biased. I might be a little proud of some of our boys. We already have storyline, and I've got a little bit of an emotional storyline. I'm invested in these players. Of course, as a caster, it's always great to love the teams that you get the option to cast for and talk about. So really proud. This is a fantastic lobby of players here.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, they've all earned their spot in this event. So, like, this is the top. We're looking at the cream of the crop when it comes to for this specific event. These guys have all earned it. They've showed that they can be here. They've shown that they deserve to be here. So, all these players, I think, are completely capable of taking a game. A little bit of RNG luck, perhaps a little bit of like you said, maybe a team doesn't play for kills and makes it to that last ring, gets a little lucky. And is able to third party that last engagement and comes out on top. But I really do think that any of these teams are capable of pulling out a dub.
Yeah, that's the crazy part is that we don't really have a wild card. I mean, we've got a couple teams that I think are quote unquote high tiers. Speaking of Bangalore and speaking of Shiv, I'm curious to see if our player on the top right hand corner of your screen, that's going to be Devil Lord. It looks like that's actually going to be playing an Octane. Devil in the previous series here, unless took a weirdly errant amount of health damage. But Devil Lord was playing a Bangalore in the previous top in the previous A pool that we had watched on stream on the 21st. So speaking of Shiv and a lot of that gameplay style, that's pretty interesting. We're swapping over to your clap though. Again, another top 10 team from the previous pool. We're going to be in the POV of Pew. We've got Rainbow Ape and Blue Wizard as well. That's the Octane we saw in the game number 1. Use that Sentinel and get that nice crack shot 90 on the heady shot right there. But it looks like we're just going to use the flat line. We're going to be peeking, do a little bit of damage across it when we can. Unfortunately, not great loot considering how great Climatizer is. This is actually the POI, excuse me, that you'll see Cloud9 land at and contest in the ALGS. So I mean, obviously you've got another top 3 national American placing team there that uses this as their landing POI. So if they've decided it's good, it's probably good.
You know, I actually it looked like they were starting to rotate away from that other team and potentially like try to get some better loot. I do like that play as they were starting to kind of move away. So to me, that just screams big brain plays. Like don't take a fight that you're not going to win. Don't force an engagement if you don't have to. So I like to see that they rotated out versus just immediately going in. We do have some action as we have Hyde taking out Kappa with the Mastiff.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, Hyde is going to be one of our players that's on Team Vittoria. I believe that's going to be their Gibraltar, if I'm not mistaken here. And it looks like I'm exactly right. That's going to be the R301 in the hands of that Gibraltar right there. We are going to swap POVs to the players that are getting chased. I mean, again, we've used the analogy so many times, but there is a lot of blood in the water. I don't know what's happening. If it's a medieval, like we've let leeches out into the water, but there is a lot of blood here and the sharks are coming for it. Deadly Kitten, however, left with just a little bit of HP and a dream right there and not able to win that engagement. Deadly Kitten is going to fall to Devil Lord with the Eva. 8 shots are going to come in. Slater able to get out a kill onto Hyde as well. So unfortunately that Team Vittori is going to fall. Deadly Kitten, Snifty, and Hyde are all going to go down. Vittori, I believe, is orbiting our top 5 and they are currently our 5th place seeded team here. So that is a huge death halfway through this tournament. I mean, they're still in that top 5 kind of placing there, but that is really big. That's going to set them behind for an entire game.
Yeah, it's definitely tough, but it's not out of the question for them if they rally and have a strong game 4 and 5, and it's possible, you know. But it's definitely a tough hit to the ego to be taken out so early. You know, 17 squads are still left, so it's pretty unfortunate to go down so early. But sometimes that's the way the cards fall.
I really like the Gibraltar bubble right here. I would have liked to see this actually touch the other bubble, so you'll hear a lot of players call for a bub in. And that usually just means bubble into the fight, but you can call it bub in, and that pretty much means throw your bubble into their bubble so they can't watch us walk up from the gap between the two. So I would have liked those bubbles to touch each other right there, but it doesn't really look like any of that was needed as they're able to cleanly wipe out Slater, Denox, and and Devil Lord there. So unfortunately, this tunnel has just become a tunnel of third parties, right? That was unfortunately Snifty's team trying to take an engagement. Team Vittori gets taken out. Then we see the team that aped them get taken out. And then we see the team that aped them. In true Apex Legends fashion, it was the third party. And we're all terrible house guests. We're all late to the party, and we just kill everyone there.
You know, I said it in the first game, man. I do not enjoy that tunnel. To me, it just screams like position to be third party. You have no way to escape. So you either have to brawl out or push forward and brawl through. Either way, it's like kind of one of those things. Like if you can avoid that tunnel, I say just don't even bother with it because it is so high risk. I mean, mobility in this game is critical. If you can get out of that engagement and heal, but there's nowhere to run to. I mean, last game we saw that Octane try to launch pad out and hit the ceiling, got stuck, and was immediately killed for it. So we've seen a lot of action in that tunnel, especially early game. Yeah, I don't know. I would like to see that tunnel a little more avoided in the games coming up.
Me too, and it's such a weird place to fight because then players like Caustic will thrive in there. Players like Octane that you see, I mean, like exactly as you had said, Nate, will not thrive in there because even hitting a slide on that bounce pad, which does kind of lower the height, isn't really going to help you because you're still going to get some verticality. But this is Fusion TV, so it looks like this team has been landing at the lava POI pretty consistently here because this is where we had seen Fusion, the Octane, get thirsted by that Mozambique much earlier in the series here. So it looks like Stick Drift Crew and that opposing roster both, Stick Drift Crew and the opposing roster are both look to land at this POI, because we've seen them engage here a couple different times. So they're all at least orbiting this area together. But it looks like wisely that other team is going to be backing out, as there was some pretty considerable damage here. A very aggressive push. We have the PK in the hands of the Gibraltar. We also have a team over at Survey Camp getting into an engagement here. This is going to be Team Laser Healthy. It looks like at least 2 teams here, if I'm not mistaken, maybe a third, but I like the Pathfinder grapple. As a Pathfinder main myself, that gold helmet is going to help that Pathfinder get in and out of engagements. A gold helmet is very important. But Nate, it's your man Shifuyu in the kill feed.
Yeah, I mean, dude, that Pathfinder tried his hardest to get away from there. I was even going to compliment his heads-up play to get out when he did, but it didn't matter because those players were absolutely coming for him, and now there's blood in the water, and we have a team scrap on our hands. I like the patience here to shield. I like that he didn't rush this kill and is still trying to play for the shield. What a slide. The aggressive slide out to try to... Misses the massive shots. Those are critical shots to miss, man. If you hit those shots, even if you hit 2 of them, you're in a position to get out of that fight, but unfortunately misses all 3 shots and is punished for it and taken out.
This is really, really big, too, because, of course, we see... Oh, the Gibraltar was going to get thirsted, but it looks like we might be seeing a res on a different roster here. That's going to be Fusion TV, and it looks like a couple of these players are just kind of trying to wander around, maybe get as far away from each other as possible. We see PSG, that's our Caustic, trying to crawl out of there. Unfortunately, we are going to need, of course, that Gibraltar shield, and actually, in this specific engagement here, I know this is weird, I actually would prefer, if I'm this Octane, that both my Caustic and my Gibraltar are dead. Because if you're left alive as a crawler, there's literally no chance for me to get you. I cannot sit there for an 8 full second res and do anything to help you. But if I'm an Octane and I can skate by, hit my Q, and just jump right through the whole grouping of players, hit a pad, and be off into the sunset, and potentially get a res there, that's actually beneficial for me. So that player getting thirsted right there could actually be helpful.
So I actually love the play from the Octane. It is the first ring still, so he's not taking very much storm damage, and he actually opted to stay into the storm and take that extra health damage, kind of you know, maybe to kind of like conclude that the other team isn't going to still be looking for him, and you know, I feel like it gives him just kind of some extra cover to go in and try to get those revive beacons.
Absolutely, and man, the bombardment comes in and they are aping directly to the dome. Beautiful dodges from France to not get impacted by that at all. I believe that was a team Gibraltar ult onto that, but he only, I believe he may have gotten stunned finally entering the outside of that bubble right there, but that was beautiful. Great shots on this 2x4 on the 301 as well. Unbelievably strong shots from this player. That is beautiful gun skill on an R301 at range with a 2x4. You do not traditionally see that on a controller. That is pretty strong.
We have seen a lot of R301 gameplay today too. You know, we've seen a lot of players just doing, you know, 100+ in clips to other players, and with that R301, so if you can hit those shots at that mid to long range, you know, we kind of saw this happen in the last game, is I think these players are starting to opt, you know, maybe it's a little better to do the chip damage at mid to long range versus running in and aping and trying to have these close range encounters where the other players are more likely to hit your shots. You know, if you're a team that can hit those shots with your R301, with your Hemlock, with your long range rifles, like, do it. You know, it's free damage, and you know, if you can make sure that those shots are hitting, and it just puts you in a better position. You're making the other team burn resources. You're making them weak. You're potentially getting knocks. So I just love that we're seeing some more of the mid-range, like pokey versus we are seeing a good amount of like close quarters engagements, but it's starting to slow down and kind of mix up.
Yeah, I like the ping from this Valkyrie right here too. This is the team that we've seen consistently. I think this is 2 teams that we've seen with Valkyries here, so I really like that. Although we're back on board with Noobicide. This is the dramatic squad, so this is that orbiting like top 100 pred roster for console that we had seen before. So this is definitely a team to watch. This is Enika though, and we do see Enika trying to challenge what I believe looks like maybe a Caustic on the roof up there. Although now that I look at it a little bit different, I think that may be an Octane up there on the roof. But Noobicide pushing in. Now you've got that Caustic roster. So you are able to take a building. Unfortunately, Zidane looks like he's got a lot of damage. There may be a third party coming from Skyhook. We still have 12 squads alive, and everybody does need to be headed towards the Climatizer portion of the map. So it would not be strange to me if there were other players there. I really like that we're triggering these traps, though, and we're forcing our Caustic to be a part of it, because our Caustic is able to enter and exit through that gas with no incoming gas damage. Of course, they all have the gas masks. Now, we do see that sonar scan. We have the Seer ult out in the hands of Zidane. I mean, there is a lot going on here. Both of these teams employing kind of all of their tacticals, all of their abilities right here. If they play this patiently, Caustic throws his ult as soon as this bubble pops. He'll be able to trap a couple of these players in the corner, and gas will not save anyone but the opposing team's Caustic.
You know, I love the way Team Dramatic kind of swarmed in there. Tough to see Team No Way going down, but Team Dramatic, they swarmed in like Hornets, man. They collapsed on the building. They used the caustic to kind of bait out traps in that Gibraltar shield. Then they were sitting ducks in the building. You know, they had great triangulation on the players. They were literally stuck in a corner. They couldn't go anywhere. They couldn't do anything except for fire back. And, you know, just really clean gameplay from Team Dramatic right now. That's what I want to see out of our first seed coming into this game. You know, I want to see high damage. I want to see big brain plays. I want to see the cohesion and the teamwork. And that's definitely what we're getting out of them right now.
Yeah, I'm really, really impressed. I mean, the composure on that team is actually what spoke to me. In that specific engagement, I mean, if you've got 3 dudes trapped in a corner, if you just kind of spit bullets into there, you'll eventually hit somebody. And the L-Star, of course, just hit scans in general. I mean, that was just wild. But it was really the composure to wait for that bubble to pop. Because for me, I would have maybe, if I was the Wraith and I have a smaller hitbox, maybe slid in there, try to opt to throw a grenade in there. And realistically, why chance it? There's just no reason to chance that. They just needed to buy a little bit of time and execute perfectly, and I think that's exactly what they did. Nice crypto ult coming out of one of their teammates right there, and the crypto ult, again, that's another really important thing that we don't see talked about very much. The crypto ult is going to stop the Gibraltar dome, but what it also does is deactivate traps. So that Caustic that had set up in there allowed for that Wraith to push in, or excuse me, the Bloodhound to push in there and get some damage out from that team, and all the traps were deactivated. So that Caustic that had barreled up thinking, haha, only the Caustic's going to be able to challenge me, all of a sudden, all the players can challenge him, and that Caustic's utility is completely gone.
I love the heads-up play for Team Baby to kind of set up that Wraith portal to get out of there. I don't know if they were trying to, like, you know, get some damage on that other team, but the fact that they had set up an escape route allowed for them to immediately escape when they started getting shot at. I think it was like a preemptive escape route, but then it immediately worked out to their favor as they were able to get out of there. We got Team Dramatic scooping up some more loot here. So we've got 9 squads left on the board. You know, we're coming down to the wire here. I think we're going to see a lot of teams go down in this next circle here. It's going to be tough. You know, we're back in this tunnel that I haven't been enjoying too much. We got Team Baby kind of teetering on the edge of this circle here. I would like to see them kind of try to maybe push in towards the backside of that circle just to mitigate their risk of getting shot by players from behind them, as, you know, the ring is closing and players are going to start kind of collapsing on this smaller circle. You don't want to have your backs to the players that are coming in. So if they're going to take out this squad, I hope they do it soon. Otherwise, they, you know, potentially are looking to be shot in the butt.
I agree 100%. I really like this gold armor on Mr. Taylor right here because, I mean, we've all had to fight a Gibraltar. We've all had to fight a Caustic, right? We're going to talk about our thick boys here. But how annoying is it you break a Caustic for the 906th time, he throws down a gas barrel, shoots it so you can't see him, and then he manages to hit a full battery. What if you have to live that exact nightmare, but the battery takes half the time? So you just pop 2 cells in your gold armor and you're right back. That's my worst nightmare, and then it's punctuated by, like, having a nightmare in hell. Like, that is just the most frustrating thing. A Gibraltar with gold armor, a Caustic with gold armor, and then sometimes a mobility character as well with a gold armor, like an Octane, because you can just get in and out of those gunfights so quickly. As a Pathfinder main, I opt to use it a lot. Beautiful, beautiful control, though, on that Hemlock, that's going to be in single fire with a 3x right there. We see Sino running a Volt in the kill feed on the top right-hand corner of your screen, and it looks like he was able to actually punch out a player. He got the kill onto Poka, and then the melee kill onto Skies as well. So that's going to be huge, and then Chief is going to fall to Devil as well. So the entire slow roster, what I believe is our 11th seeded team there, that's going to be Poka, Skies, and Chief are all going to fall.
I mean, that's a lot of damage right there. Potentially avoidable, you know. I feel like they could have maybe tried to play their life a little more as opposed to, you know, taking that engagement. You know, 8 squads are still left, so it's kind of early to fall. You're not going to net yourself any placement points and kind of going to, you know, put yourself out of the running for I mean, if you're dead, you can't be earning points, and points is the name of the game in this event. So, you know, it's definitely tough to go down before that, like, top 4, top 3 spot.
So we just saw a POV there. That was our BWO Gaming. That was our team tied for first place with Team Dramatic, the Pred roster that we've been watching compete here, actually who we have in our POV. There is a huge discrepancy on points between these teams in this game. If Dramatic dies, right now, they already have more points to reclaim first place than Team BWO. BWO, I believe, literally only has placement points, as opposed to Team Dramatic that has, we saw 6 assists, I believe, from their Caustic player. As opposed to, again, look at our BWO. We have 84 damage on that one player. We have 3 kills, 3 assists on the Wraith alone with 707 damage. So the point multiplier for this team is significantly higher than the other team they need to be beating. Team Dramatic is in a great place to move themselves forward. On the other hand, we have our Stickdrift crew. This is going to be Signy, Fusion, and, excuse me if I'm getting this gamertag incorrectly, but Versenker. 2608 down there at the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. And forgive me if I'm making a mistake right there, but an interestingly placed Gibraltar ult. I actually got Echo ulted right when that hit, and that's pretty impressive there. The Gibraltar film also not going down. I think he may have animation canceled that, trying to opt in for that battery, and he almost was punished for it. So very dangerous place to be, but the bubble still goes off. Fusion obviously is able to jet forward with the Octane abilities here, and then looks like the Bloodhound Signy was safe as well. We've got a beautiful picture-in-picture at the top left-hand corner of your screen here. We are going to see that team looking and rotating outwards as well. We do see that whole team stimming down towards the bubble. Nate, I think we're going to ape this bubble.
Yeah, it's not looking good if you're the Stick Drift crew, but they did have a great, heads up to get out of there.
Wow.
And they were able to regen a little bit, but man, Team BWO just collapses on them so aggressively, so quickly. I was gonna say, man, I didn't like that they were kind of just sitting out in the open, taking pot shots at a player behind a rock, and then boom, immediately we saw that Gibraltar ult come down, and they had to use their bubble, and then they had nowhere to go, and it just gave that other squad, the BWO squad, the perfect opportunity to just swoop in and take their lives for it, like the Grim Reaper, man. It really was just a beautiful collapse from Team BWO.
Absolutely. And you got to talk about the confidence on that, right? They did the damage. They forced the Gibraltar bubble. They had already used their ult, but the opposing team had already used theirs. I mean, that with mathematically, that was perfect considering that they were able to do oncoming damage and force that team to bub. They were all going to be healing in that engagement. So whether or not they even got the heals off, their weapons were holstered. I mean, we saw a 3-stack melt directly onto that Gibraltar. 2 of them got knocked, even collapsing towards that bubble, which was just beautiful. And then they got to literally 3-way shoot that Gibraltar, which, I mean, of course, in a 1v1 engagement, sometimes Gibraltar's great because you can ADS mid-fight and absorb some of the damage with your gun shield. In a 1v3 fight, pretty traditionally, you won't win that, and also you're the size of a small planet. So Gibraltar's not great in those specific types of engagements here, but we are going to swap back our POV to these Team Dramatic here again. This was that top tier Pred roster that we were talking about. This is going to be Fusion now of the Stick Drift crew. We have quite a few teams that were kind of orbiting that first through, I'm going to say 8th place, and all of them are performing really well this game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Dramatic squad's looking scary, like scary. You can definitely tell they're Pred players. But we do have some contenders. I mean, if they get in a bad spot, we see our Wraith taking damage here. They're going to be able to get this shield off as, unfortunately not. But I mean, they do have their squad mates behind them. It's a great Wraith ult. You're getting that guaranteed invulnerability and getting back to the squad who can protect you while you get your shields back up. Just big brain plays from Team Dramatic. I'm loving how composed they are. I feel like we haven't seen them really panic yet. I feel like everything's been very calculated and calm, and they're just, another day at the office. They're punching their time card and they're, doing what they do because they're just looking kind of unstoppable to me right now.
I agree. And it's so funny that you say another day at the office, right? You and I have done a lot of Halo together. I mean, we're Smash players. I mean, we've all orbited a lot of game cycles. And you do have those teams that are just another day at the office, man. This is what I do. I stream, I get up, beat up some kids in a tournament, take my cash prize, and I go home and I live a fulfilling life. This is not a pro tournament. This is my favorite part about the whole thing. This is high-tier AM Apex. This is the guys that are trying to make it over that gap, right? And so if you're that team, if we're getting the chance to witness a team that is just going to come in and is just punching the time card another day at the office, there's a chance that we're seeing a future Cloud9 roster, right? A future Envy roster in the making years before it happens. I mean, this is literally the proving ground. This is what lays the framework for the high tier tournaments. I mean, this is maybe, to me, even better than a high tier tournament because we get to find players like this, like the BWO team, like the Baby team, like the Dramatic team, before anybody else has the chance to. That's so exciting to me as a commentator, as a spectator. What a storyline.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Like you said, it's the proving grounds. A lot of players can come out into these kind of events and make a name for themselves. And man, this player Oscar is just laying down some fire with that wingman, doing great damage. He's kind of just trying to stay alive. This is something we saw kind of in the last one. We have these solo Octanes who are able to get out of engagements and kind of rat around the map. But he is unfortunately lit up. I feel like he was kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. All these squads were set up and kind of triangulated. He had nowhere to go. But, great heads up. He stayed alive as long as he could. And that's something I think we're going to see. We've seen it in previous games. We're going to continue to see it. The solo Octanes that are just trying to, stay alive for as long as they can. Team Dramatic, though. This Seer, 7 kills on the board, 3 assists. Almost now crossing the 2,000 damage mark. I mean, they are just looking overly strong. I feel like they are the final boss in the lobby right now. This this team is hunkered down behind that vehicle, and they're just taking free pot shots. They have nowhere to go. Their back is to the circle, and they're in a great place. They're able to just kind of bob and weave in and out, and their teammates are protecting them, and they're just able to kind of like go in, do their chip damage, get out, heal up. Their boys are protecting them. You kind of see them like push one at a time. We're not seeing like all three go in unnecessarily. And again, that just is part of the composure. I feel it's, they know that team is stuck behind them with nowhere to go, and they're just doing their chip damage to them. And eventually they're going to run out of resources.
That Q was unbelievably brilliant in that specific engagement. That player was halfway through rezzing a player. Seer's Q stalls all started action, so whether it's heal, whether it's a res, whatever it might be. So that player had that 20-second timer. He kept doing damage to force that Gibraltar to heal. The Gibraltar was able to get the dome off, but then that Q stopped one of the two reses that player had started there. So I believe that only the Gibraltar was able to stay alive, and unfortunately, since he had already used his dome, that Gibraltar already fell. That Gibraltar is dead. Now we're in the hands of Mr. Taylor again. This is going to be our team baby, and let's talk about that 3x on the 301. Absolutely stunning recoil control from these players.
Yeah, I mean, they also have the high ground, which helps with recoil and both bullet drops. They're definitely in a good spot right now. 3 squads left on the board. So, if I'm Team Baby, it's do or die. You've got high ground. This circle's going to close. They might have to drop off of their high ground. I think it's best for them to just kind of stay where they are, keep doing their chip damage, and only drop when they have to. I love that they're not unnecessarily dropping off of their height advantage. So all they have to do is just back up to heal. They're definitely looking to be in a good position to potentially take this game.
I have so much respect for this team and the ability to play around a crypto. The other crypto that you'll really see orbiting high tier Apex currently is 96 Tech. Tech is kind of notorious for being pretty loud and kind of changing a lot of rosters here, but Tech is also really well known for pretty much griefing teams in final circles, because if you have that crypto ult, you deny Gibraltar bubbles, you deny caustic traps. We've got some beautiful Mastiff shots coming out of those players, however, and Team Baby is going to walk away your Game 3 victor, taking out an extra team and the current first place tie team of Dramatic. Now, whether or not that first place amount is going to get them over the threshold and to overtake that first place slot is going to be up to our statisticians that are going to be getting the score handled after the game. But incredible gameplay from Team Baby right there. And I think they probably got 4 of those 6 players granted as kills. I mean, Nate, what spoke to you at the end? The crypto ult, the double crypto ult, considering the ult cells that were used there, was very big for me.
So this actually, to me, I think Team Dramatic, they threw a little bit, in my opinion. So when they had that team pinned on the vehicle, and we saw the Seer push in with the Mastiff and interrupt the res and then do 2 chunks of 100, his team wasn't with him. They were off in a building. They were doing their own thing. Had they collapsed as a full team, we saw that Seer run in alone, do the damage, got away, but they didn't secure the kills on the team, right? And then they would have had to worry about only one squad, Team Baby. So because they didn't kind of collapse on that squad, they kept them pinned, sure. But to me, it just allowed Team Baby to come in and just take it away, because they just sat up there on that high ground and were kind of able to take pot shots at, both squads while they were fighting. And because they had high ground, they were able to just kind of step back and disengage. They didn't have to run to cover or brawl their way out. They just had to back up a little bit, right? So, in a one-on-one engagement, if you weren't fighting, 2 other teams, maybe Team Dramatic could have done a little bit more. Either way, hats off to Team Baby, as that was a confident way to close out game number 3.
Yeah, I really liked that they weren't orbiting the kind of traditional bajillion heavy player Gibraltar Bloodhound meta that we kind of always see. I like that they were able to work a crypto in there as their scan character, as their info character. So definitely very cool to see a meta shakeup. But guys, I mean, Nate and I have been doing this for many a year and competing and casting and so on. I don't have a firm guess. I do not on which team is going to be in first place after that game. So we're going to leave that up to the stats team that Console Gaming has provided for us. Before we go, of course, we have to thank the Console Gaming League, and we want to thank that team. Yes, we talked about them previously in the broadcast. I'm going to go ahead and pull up that link so I can make sure they get some fair attention. But you can find the team that's going to be providing the trophies. The trophies, you heard me right. The trophies for the first place team here. You can find that at Team Yes. That's going to be etsy.com/shop/your engraving supply, as well as new.gg, for the Console Gaming League merch that they've so graciously provided me. Feels great, looks great. I think I look all right on camera too. It's a really, really good combo. Make sure if you want to support the console gaming league that you can go ahead and find that there and make sure that you support that team, yes, at the bottom right hand corner as well. But guys, Nate and I will be right back with you. I believe we have just finished our game number 3, all 3 with separate winners. We talked about it. We talked about it being a storyline, a storybook. We're headed to chapter 4, and there is no clear direction for this story yet. Every single thing is a cliffhanger, story on story. So, guys, give us that 5-minute turnaround. Let's be courteous to those players, that water, that bathroom break. Get some monster energy for yourself because we are still headed to a couple jam packed games. We will be right back with you. Guys, I have been a man of my word. I'm giving us a 5-minute timer, and we are right on the nose every single time. We are corralled like sheep by the console gaming league team. They have chained me actually. I can't turn my camera downwards, but I am actually chained by my ankle to my desk, so I have to be here on my 5-minute timer. We are trying desperately to bring the action to you as fast as we can, and we're punctuating that with an incredible from behind win from Team Baby. That's going to be Obelix, Mr. Taylor, and Live a Little Baby. So let's talk about this. Mr. Taylor, the caustic I said, live my personal nightmare, guys. Here's my first person POV to my own private hell, courtesy of Mr. Taylor. Here's a gold armored caustic with 9 kills and 2.1k damage, culminating in a first place placement. Nate, what a brutally brilliant spot to be in.
I mean, dude, 9 kills in one game. Not only is that 9 kill points that you've secured alone, 2 assists. So we know that Team Baby has at least 11 points in kill points alone from that game, as well as securing the 12 points for the first place placement. I mean, they are definitely looking comfortable. The points are still being tallied. We'll probably get to see those here shortly, but I mean, you got to be feeling good if you're Team Baby. You got a dub in a tournament, and yeah, it was a high kill game. So it's not like they just ratted around, the whole time. They were out there fighting. They were out there working for that dub, which is exactly what you want to see. Sometimes I feel like it's a little bit of a, RNG, a team who doesn't really engage very often ends up winning. But
Wow.
there you have it. Team Baby behind Team Dramatic by only 2 points. Team BWO falls to third with 35 points, and SFC with 29. Team Vittori with 26. So we're starting to see a little bit of a kill discrepancy start to build here. Team Dramatic is definitely looking comfortable in first place. First and fourth are separated by a pretty decent margin, but let's talk about these first 2 positions, man. Only 2 points. That's 2 kills. That's scary. It's a scary spot to be in if you're Team Dramatic. You're going to have another high placing, high kill game if you're going to want to stay in that first place slot because Team Baby's coming for you.
Absolutely. And one of the things I'm noticing from Team Dramatic, I mean, we've said it so many times throughout now, is that the not stagnant, that's the wrong word for it, but almost the strategic and consistent way that they've been playing. We actually don't see them leading in placement points. It's the only way there's the only spot we don't see them leading in. If we can get a victory, if we can get a champion win out of Team Dramatic with whatever kill points they've been earning previously, I think that seals the fate. Because if they can get that little, I mean, they're 3/4 of the way up the stairs. They just need that last little stair step, I think, to get up over the top of that. But unfortunately, each time we talk about that RNG factor, they're getting put in compromising positions. Nate, you had talked about how you didn't like their rotation towards that truck player, that you would have liked them to get a little bit more aggressive maybe and wipe that squad previously. I mean, there's those micro plays that you and I have seen across various titles. I mean, not even shooters. I mean, I can see micro plays in Rocket League. There's so many minute decisions that come into play there. I think if we can see Team Dramatic get one more thing right, they can not just walk away with a win, but they can sprint. They can octane pad out of here with a win.
Yeah, you actually took the words out of my mouth. I mean, we see them leading by kill points, which we've kind of talked about. Kill points don't really matter, but in this instance, they do. We've got Team Dramatic leading. I believe they had 30 kill points on the board, and I believe 21 from placement. Maybe it's
Mhm.
31 and 20. I'm not quite sure, but anyways, they do have about 30 kill points on the board, where Team Baby right behind them is actually outperforming them in placement, but not in kills. And this is where the determining factor is, right? Team Baby needs to not only continue to have high kill scoring games like Team Dramatic, but they need to outplace them if they're going to want to usurp the throne.
Absolutely. I mean, it's one of my favorite phrases, Nate. If you're going to hit the king, you better kill the king. And unfortunately, Dramatic's in such a tough spot for that because they're the king, but they keep getting killed. I mean, that's a rough spot to be in, and there's no question of skill, in my opinion. There is zero question of gun skill and ability to rotate and play. I mean, this is a true top tier team in and out, and I'm unbelievably impressed. But it is just something to note that it's an RNG based game, man. It's a tough one. It's just everything you can get hit right in the Achilles heel when you least expect it, and that's tough. I liked a lot of diversity in some of the guns we saw though. I felt like we saw the Rampage more often. We were seeing the Flatline with some interesting scopes. We saw some R301s with a 2x4. I mean, some unorthodox gameplay that you don't really see unless it's mouse and key. And some high tier controller players, it looks like they're able to perform at that threshold, at a different threshold than other controller players. So very cool to see at a high tier.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they know how to shoot, right? And we talked about that Seer play maybe costing them that game. I'm sure that Seer was yelling at his squad, "I got damage, I got damage. I not. Where are you guys?" And it's just his
Hmm.
two teammates were so far away. They were probably also preoccupied with that other engagement. I believe they were probably shooting at Team Baby, but I mean that lack of cohesion there is what cost them, first place from second place from third place. Because I do believe if they were able to wipe that squad, they may have been able to deal with Team Baby up on that high ground more effectively. But like you said, it's all those micro decisions, a bit of RNG. Team Baby maybe. There's a lot of random things that happened that led them to be in the high ground with the circle favorably to them. So, like you said, a little bit of RNG. Team Dramatic definitely knows how to shoot. They're going to have that high placing game, like you said. They need to take that champion game, and I think that would solidify them
Introducing your
as
champion.
first. But tough to say. Like you said, RNG, Team Baby's definitely shown that, man, they are coming for that first place slot. They want to win. They're hungry. You can feel it in their gameplay. So we're going to have to see, just playing lives, trying to get the circle points, and maybe Team Baby's going to have to be a little more aggressive on kills because that's what is separating them from first and second right now. So it'll be interesting to see if that changes up their play style at all.
Absolutely. And let's talk about the intimidation factor seeing those guys on your champion screen. I mean, that's dangerous. What's wild about that was that we saw Team Dramatic on the champion screen. Dramatic didn't even win the previous lobby. Dramatic actually lost. I believe they got second or third place in that lobby. But that tells us how many kills and cumulative damage that they actually outplaced the opposing teams strictly off of damage and kills. So the game has actually considered them the champions rather than the opposing team. Now, Team Baby, of course, still walks away with the points for a first place placing, but that's a very dangerous and fearsome thing to see on your replay screen, especially if you are Team Baby. Now, beautiful tracking on that 45 though from that Octane. We have Poka now on a Gibby. Poka has been on a Bloodhound actually previously through in this tournament here, so it looks like they may be swapping roles here a little bit to see what's going on there. We do see their Octane though trapped on the Hill House on the 82 building on the top left-hand corner right there. But we now, I believe, have Chief as well, who's kind of rotated backwards. The Gibby is going to bub forward, though. This is very big. This is what I've been referring to with a bub forward kind of play, because the Octane is going to be caught. The Gibraltar team was able to rotate and not take any incoming damage, so they are already a man down.
That's not looking good if your team's slow. Aside from being a man down, they are very scattered positionally. And look, Gibraltar's getting shot in the back as I'm talking about it right now. They are just kind of between a rock and a hard place. We're probably going to see them go down pretty early here as they have their work cut out for them to not only escape, but try to get heals. I mean, resources is the name of the game right now. We see Sonar detected, so he knows those players are coming right for him. It's tough. I mean, he is rotating to his teammate, which is what exactly needed to happen. We see the Gibraltar bubble go down. I feel like it was kind of unnecessary. Maybe it's a diversion tactic. Maybe it was covering his back. I mean, he was pretty close to that building there, which would have provided ample cover. I do like that they're trying to get out of there. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like they're going to be able to get to that Octane banner. But at this point, I think they're going to have to just try to play for position because that team is still closing in on them, I believe.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I agree with your assessment, too. I really like the rotation out of here. I think that's probably the right play. We are going to be swapping over, though, to the Stick Drift crew because I think we're pretty much going to be on our running simulator for quite a while on the other POV. But this is going to be Signy that we're stuck on here, our Bloodhound here, who is going to be hitting a Phoenix kit. We have the opposing leaders, the opposing tournament leaders, Team Dramatic. And we're on the POV of Noob's side. And it looks like Noob has actually swapped. I believe he was previously the Caustic on the team, if I'm not mistaken. So again, I think we see some of those roles that get relegated to other people. Like we talked about just punching the time card. It's like, dude, sorry. Sorry, man. It's Saturday. It's your shift on Gibraltar now. Like it's your turn. And I think that the larger characters are incredibly instrumental in victories, but they're not necessarily fun to play. I love me a Pathfinder. I love me an Octane. I think those high speed players, I think players kind of relish in the gameplay of those characters specifically. So I think it's kind of interesting to see the big boys get rotated around. But we have the opposing team. This is the Stick Drift crew. That Bloodhound Signy, it looks like they've been able to get height. We're going to see a couple heals exchanged right here. And again, the Scout that has been punishing throughout this entire event is going to make another kind of expected appearance.
Yeah, last broadcast I kind of talked about how I didn't think that the scout was necessarily the best weapon to be using, but I have been proven wrong this broadcast time and time again. It's kind of dominated this event today. I feel like these players are opting, like you said, it's a controller lobby. So if my squad's better at hitting those long range shots, like that's what I'm gonna do because I feel like it's higher risk to go in to a close quarters engagement. So you're risking being shot more. Whereas if you play a little bit of distance and hit your shots and kind of dip behind cover, kind of peak shotting, if you will, it can be very advantageous to the squad who's actually hitting shots. We get some great damage from that
Wow.
Octane player before getting taken out. It kind of a rock and a hard place. We had a bunch of stuff all popping off at once. Team Dramatic, kind of just scooping up the loot now. Another day at the office, like you said, they kind of just played it right and the other squad did all that they could, but were still unfortunately taken out early.
Yeah, and one I think the really impactful deciding factor right there was that team that entered Team Dramatic entered through the Gibby ult to suppress that team into the height. They either had to drop through the elevator or get up into the stairs. They already had a player poised on the stairs to do pick damage at the people that had to come inside. Plus, they were coupled with a little bit of lucky hit from the AoE and the Gibraltar ult. It actually ticked the Gibraltar, so he wasn't able to rotate down the stairwell, and it left them into a 2v3, his teammates into a 2v3, and they just got melted. The Gibraltar got cleaned up, and Team Dramatic was no worse for the wear even. I think they probably broke a shield or two. And so that was a very efficient, kind of clean, precise fight right there. But Team Vittori, though, look at Snifty. Again, half health and blue armor. It looks like he leveled up to purple, though, in that engagement here, and he is at least going to be able to charge that up and have that Octane passive to heal right there, which, of course, is very beneficial as a passive for Octane, who has to damage himself to use the stim. But man, this height advantage is great, but there is little to no cover up on the top. I think they may even opt to get off of height in this gunfight.
I'm kind of thinking about it. We've seen a lot of scout gameplay, so I feel like a decent counterplay to this may be to try running a sniper rifle, right? You've got all these players running scouts, kind of taking pot shots from mid-range and long-range, and while the scout does do great damage, if you get those one single snipe shots off at these players who are kind of overextending to shoot at distance, like if you can hit them with a sentinel or a longbow, it's gonna back them off. I just feel like it's more bang for the buck with these long range engagements. Granted, the scout is much more efficient at a closer range, so I feel like that could be better late game. But for the early game, I'm kind of wondering if we're going to start to see some sniper rifles because it looks like a lot of these players. I mean, we've got a 30-30 repeater in the hands of Chief right now, so players are opting for that mid-range poke game right now. So I really think snipers could be a good mix-up to throw into the fray here to try to back these teams off or maybe do some more long-range damage.
Yeah, and snipers are pretty meta, but they seem to be more meta on a mouse and key lobby where you can kind of aim at different ways, in my opinion. So we usually see pretty much up to a 2x4 in a controller lobby. You lose aim assist on anything bigger than 4 times as well. And at a sniper rifle, you kind of need to be able to go over that 4x sight anyway. We're going to see a Gibraltar ult come in, though, and it looks like 2 people are going to go down, I believe, to a Gibraltar ult in one engagement right there. It looks like our player Ren, now again, this was a Wraith that we kept seeing be able to make it in and out of some engagements, and unfortunately, they've been relegated to Gibraltar duty, and it just isn't. It's a tough spot to be. We just see Ren alive consistently here, but Blue Wizard is going to be our kill leader in this lobby. Blue Wizard was that player in game number 1 on Team Your Clap that was able to hit a couple bangers with the headshots right there. He was able to camp a couple headies there. And once again, Nate, here's what I'm talking about. Team Laser healthy, and all of a sudden it's Ren. Just one blue shield in a dream. And that's a tough spot to be, regardless of what character you are. Now, we talked about this in the previous show on the 21st. If you're the only player alive consistently, is it because your team's not helping or because you're not helping them?
Well, in this instance, I believe it was due to, I think the team was spread a little too thin. In that specific instance, they didn't really, I mean, they all seemed to be in different buildings. Maybe they were looking for loot and weren't expecting to get into the squab yet. But I mean, they were separated, even to the point that Ren is going to have their work cut out for them if they're trying to get those banners because they have no mobility. They're at Gibraltar, right? So to me, it's like, why would you be away from your Gibraltar? That's kind of your saving grace. That shield bubble is so game changing and impactful and kind of a get out of jail free card. If the other team's super far away, you throw that bubble down, you buy yourself a heal, right? That can be massive. So I would have liked to see them playing a little more together. Sometimes triangulating and spreading out for different angles is good, but in this specific instance, I do not believe that was the case. I believe they needed to be a little closer together. I'm seeing some kind of hijinks going on from Team Dramatic right now. Uh, it looks like we have like two squads kind of like right on top of each other. Team Dramatic does opt to go in for the push with the Caustic into the opposing team's Gibraltar bubble. We see some grenades being thrown. We got a lot of damage going down. This Wraith takes a big chunk of damage to the grenade. It looks like they're going to have to heal here. The Caustic kind of holding the door, just trying to make sure that these other players, throwing grenades, trying to keep them inside with this Peacekeeper and kind of keeping them fish in the barrel is the saying that I've been using, and that it's kind of, when these teams do get stuck in these buildings, they're kind of just trapped, stuck. And Team Dramatic's been carrying grenades. It's something that they've been doing, and case in point, they were able to just kind of lob grenades and keep that other team trapped in there, and they had nowhere to go, and just really clean plays from Team Dramatic.
I was really impressed with the trigger discipline from the Caustic. We saw him jump up, have a clear sightline on two players, and he opted not to shoot. He let them hear the audio, but he wisely backed down because his teammates are probably 2-3 seconds out. So no matter how gun skilled you are, I mean, maybe you one-clip one guy with a flatline, but you're fighting a 2v1, maybe a 3v1 in that engagement. So, and obviously taking the time there again. This is like when we saw them fight in a hill house outside of Western Frag, excuse me. I mean, that's just brilliant. They waited to take the right engagement, and that just tells me that this team is very, very composed and they belong where they are. We saw the pretty errant R9 shots from that player. They didn't really hit anything on the player that was base of the zip line here. We see a couple silhouettes on players. We're gonna go for maybe a shot there, but again, trigger discipline from this team. Nubicide has been, of course, relegated to this Gibraltar duty. He's opting to run the 30-30 repeater with a gold mag, maybe kitting it for another heavy weapon. But he's got a 2x4 on it, so it does look pretty kitted out. We've got that gold mag and the perfect sniper stock. So again, Gibraltar with a pick damage weapon at a high distance is great because he can ADS with that arm shield, tank an oncoming shot, and take more time to line up his damage. So if you're going to be running a long distance weapon, this is 100% the meta pick. I mean, these guys are playing not only good in gun skill, but they're very, very aware of how high tier Apex is played.
Well, I mean, we even saw it last broadcast. We saw Gibraltar's leveling up shields for their teammates with those pick damage weapons. We would see a squad posted up in kind of like a crow's nest or on a cliff type angle, and they would just let the Gibraltar shoot at people, and the other two guys would be rocking like SMG shotgun, and they would just not poke, and they would let the Gibraltar do all the damage that they needed to do to level up those shields. It's definitely a great strategy to employ, especially in a lobby of this high skill, right? We've got, I mean, I do think that it's kind of, like chess, but in real time. It's knowing game sense, it's hitting shots, it's knowing when to collapse, it's knowing when to back off, when to triangulate. There's a lot of things that go down. So I just love to see the kind of the brain decisions in real time with these high level players.
As do I. And we see a Gibraltar coming out with the beam from the 301. The dual 301s come in. That's Blue Wizard taking out Hyde as he peeks that corner there. That's Team Vittori, and Octane is left the only player alive right there. The Alternator and two 301s. Let's talk about a deadly combo here. For those of you that are having a little bit of PTSD, that is going to be that Season 2, Season 3 Disrupt Around Alternator that's re-entered the care pack right there. That is a terrifying gun if you have a team that can triangulate in gunfights. Team shots are already deadly, but an Alternator stripping you in literally 3 bullets is so deadly. Now, looks like that Octane, that player from Team Vittori, is going to do their best to try to move forward here, but the Alternator is going to be employed, and the beams are just coming out.
Yeah, I mean, the Alternator has such a high rate of fire, too, that, like, with the Disruptor rounds, it really is such a vicious combo of a gun. I like that we're taking these like kind of pot shots with the EVA just to make sure that player stays damaged. They're in a great position now. We've got this Wraith player moving in on the high ground. They're pretty close to circle here. So they have a little bit of time to try to secure these like stragglers before the zone closes. I do like that they're opting to rotate in towards the circle, but because they're so close to circle, they can kind of gatekeep the players that are trying to push in. So that is potentially more opportunity for kills, more opportunity for damage. We've got some great shots going down with this Mastiff. Nubicide is taken down. And you know what? It looks like Laser Healthy is in that position again where the Octane's trying the best to get away. Unfortunately, taking out. It's what happens. The play was right, but it was a little too late in my opinion. But, good heads up from Team York Clapped here.
I like Wiz trying to get the thirst right there now again. Oh, so terrible, but that Gibraltar dome did come in at a good spot. I mean, the Gibraltar is going to be beneficial, but look at that. We got a bub in bub exactly one game after I called it. I said I wanted to see some bub in bub fights, Gibraltar peaking, and look at this. They're going to be able to bully that team right there because this team with Slater on it, HRV, is going to be full health. Now, we do see Devil Lord who's going to occupy that Octane, our previous Bangalore, and actually the tournament beforehand. But they were able to get out and get that res. Unfortunately, that Gibraltar was solo pushing, and it looks like they're not going to make anything out of it. On the other hand, York Clapped is doing pretty great with the auto weapons to try to kind kind of bully these teams back and forth between the truck and the Gibraltar Dome right here. 2 golds as well, make them a little less strong in terms of total shield capacity. But if you get hit and you heal at 2 times the rate of the opponent, and you're able to ape in and you're confident, gold armor is deadly.
So I actually loved this. They all kind of, after that player had gotten lit up, they all kind of collapsed on that player that was weak to try to protect them and let them get healed up. I love that the team, you know, sometimes you see players panicking and kind of separate. And I feel like Apex specifically, once the squad's separated, they're so much easier to pick off. So I love that they opted to kind of like regroup and try to stay alive there. We got NEO Ravens taking some big damage. The Bloodhound goes down. We got Face Devil trying to just do some damage with this R99. He's looking for the players, can't seem to find them. I think at this point, I mean, he's going to Thirst. Maybe to try to draw the other players out. He gets some damage from behind. At this point, man, I think it would have been better to heal than to try to Thirst. Yep.
Yeah.
In this instance, we're taking some flesh damage now. They are able to get off the shield battery, which is absolutely massive. You know, still half down on flesh. Unreal. Dude, let's go, baby. What a heads up res. I can't believe that they were able to pull it off. It does look like Canoe is still downed again. I mean, but I'm not sure if they know it's only one Caustic that's keeping them at bay. I'm not sure if they realize that it's a 2-on-1. It's interesting to see. I'm not sure if, you know, we see a delivered to beacon and a recover banner. So maybe it was I don't know. But I feel like they need to definitely push in. Finally, they were able to take out that player, and it looks like now they're going to be able to try to get their player back up, do some healing, and loot those bodies.
You know, we have a pretty big weapon in the kill feed right there. We've got SFC, our 7th place seed in the kill feed, was able to use a Kraber for just a moment right there. And look at this. So we had 1 team engagement already, and we are going to see another one, but a beautiful place bubble from that Gibraltar. The Peacekeeper is going to be able to take him down, but he did block 2 oncoming PK shots. If a player is able to isolate this Bloodhound, they may be able to get awarded with an extra kill right there. Excuse me, but very, very, very efficient kills right there. And unfortunately, I believe that was Let's Go Baby that was going to fall right there. So I want to double check to see what roster that player was going to be on, but I believe that was a relatively high-placed roster that we had on our team. Nate, if I'm not mistaken, are you able to pick what roster Let's Go Baby was on?
Let's Go Baby. I'm looking at it right now.
Not alone. There are a lot of squads around us.
It's taking me just a moment to find. We've got a Live a Low Baby, but I mean, obviously that player was top 10. I mean, I believe that was the 10th place team in this current lobby here. And in true Apex fashion, players may have been teasing and changing their names in that lobby, as we all do, right? We all see the top tier streamers changing funny names because you can use Steam to do that and not actually have to create a new account. But look at the beams coming out from this opposing Bloodhound. I believe this is going to make that team, because we do see that alternator in hand. I believe that is going to be one of the players that I wanted to keep my eyes on. That was going to be the No Way FB roster. And I believe that's going to be an R301 coupled with an alternator in this engagement right here. We see that team at the top of the zip right there pushing towards the blue box. And it looks like the third party's going to come in directly from behind. This is what I was scared about. Slater's going to be forced to bubble. The Gibraltar ults already have gone out from the opposing team. We're about to hit the Gibraltar ult from Slater, that player themselves. Now, if they're able to get this off, I believe the opposing team on the bubble is just an int team. I think it is mostly a roster consisting of aggressive characters. So we're going to take the Octane pad away. We may be able to use the Gibraltar ult directly behind us, trying to do some damage to the opposing teams. It looks like that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to opt to maybe have our players see if they can crawl through that to potentially get to us. And I think that Gibby Dome may be up relatively soon, and we may see another clutch res right below this overhang.
Okay, so if you're Team BWO right now, I love that they have their back to the circle, but they are kind of stuck in this channel right now. It's kind of one of those tunnel situations. You know, they can't be flanked, which is great, but I mean, they're kind of in just a direct line of fire with nowhere to go. They could opt to climb up and over the wall, but then they probably won't have as much cover. So kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place, literally. You know, they're dodging the caustic gas here. They're just kind of trapped, I feel, in this specific instance.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those places where, like, having a height advantage is really great, except that you have to push across an entire zone effectively to get where you need to go. So height's always great, but it can sometimes be more punishing than if you have like an overhang to hide under, because of course a team that's going to fall down onto the top of you is going to have a little bit of stun when they fall. We got a flame grenade. It looks like I got one tick onto a player on the opposing side there. Great shots. That player was trying to stick the res, but no Gibraltar bubble is going to be very important right there. I would love it if we had a crypto, and unfortunately it doesn't look like we do, but the gas traps are going up and over the wall right there. I mean, this is the siege of Madrigal, unfortunately, right here. I mean, the Trebuchet caustic traps are about to come in, and it does not look good for any team that does not have a gas daddy.
Well, I mean, it's scary too because they're triple stacked on gold shields, right? So every time that other squad was ripping shots at Team No Way, they knew, okay, there's still gold shield, there's still gold shield, there's still gold shield. They had the resources to burn, and they were getting those heals off that much quicker because they had the gold shield, right? So, I mean, it's what do you do? What do you do? You know, they were out resourced, they were being outshot. They had another squad to their left across that open field that would have shot at them had they tried to escape. So that was just a really strong collapse from Team No Way, I think. 5 squads remaining. I like that they're kind of not rushing to circle yet. As the last circle, I mean, it's a small one, and I don't love where it is positionally. So they opt to lose high ground here. It's a brilliant Wraith ult to dodge that damage. I like that they opted to run away instead of go in, you know, trying to get the heal off. He's got his teammates up above to cover him, but, I mean, he's definitely not in a great position. His team does opt down to drop to protect him, so I do enjoy this. I mean, they had to because circle was closing, but just, I mean, if they can get that that push on this other team, I mean, here they go.
You know, I was really hoping for a kidnap in that specific engagement right there. We saw that Wraith portal. We saw the caustic that was trapped alone. I would have loved to see us force that caustic directly through a portal right there. I love the Gibby Dome right here too, allowing Win for the Money on Team SFC to just kind of peek and do whatever they can. Look at that. That player opts to shoot his teammate's caustic barrel to force it to activate, so the gas does damage in the radius to the Octane and forces them to slow. I mean, you want to talk about some awareness for how you can benefit your team and how your team comp can be used? That's pretty peak.
Yeah, I mean, the environmental awareness right there was just unreal. Like, it was just a great option. It not only does a little bit of damage, but it also forces that player, kind of zones him out away from your team. And now, you know, these caustic barrels are going to be, I think, very critical in this last couple of circles, in these last couple of moments, excuse me, because, I mean, we've got, I believe, 3 squads left. And you know, the circle's only getting smaller, so those caustic traps will come into play pretty substantially towards the end of this game.
Yeah, and we had talked about how sometimes Caustic was meta, sometimes Caustic wasn't meta. I mean, we're seeing him enter gameplay a lot more than we have the last probably singular season. And when you can get a Caustic all the way to endgame, it's so strong. I mean, it's especially if you can pair a Caustic with a Gibraltar, right? That the SFC roster in theory does have right here. I mean, the flame grenades are going to tick that player, and unfortunately, it's just so difficult to fight that because you've got 2 thick boys, obviously, so your incoming damage isn't strong. You have a Gibraltar bubble. You can even throw an ult in your own bubble, so forcing a team that bubs on you to have to take an engagement that they otherwise just cannot literally win. I love the pick damage coming from the other team, though, as this team is forced to cross the train tracks. We were able to get the battery off, but look, we're rocking a hard place here. If Win for the Money is opting to use a Phoenix kit, there's 2 things that tells me. One, they just trust that they can either make that gap cross. The other one is that they're out of heals. And having to burn a full Phoenix for some shields right there with this many teams fighting in final circle, this is dangerous. HRV in a great spot. The beam comes in from the R99. This is some wild gameplay, Nate.
I mean, Team SFC, they are in a great position, if you ask me. They're kind of in cover. The other 2 teams are preoccupied, right? So if they play this right in third party, they could walk away and win this kind of 2v6. As you see, the Bloodhound does use his ability there. So now he's got all the information. He's re-aware of that squad that's low into the left. You see as he's looking right at him now. Neither squad really wanting to engage, rightfully so, as we see the zoning ult come down. It looks like those players, unfortunately, are stuck again on the low ground. It looks like they're getting collapsed on. But here's the third party from Team Baby.
That is unbelievable. I love the crypto ult too. We're going to have the awareness. We're going to have the shield charge. He's going to slow his teammates, but it doesn't matter because the zone is putting pressure on the other side. His Wraith is going to fall, and that's going to be Baby with a second game, Nate. We're 2 for 2. No matter what, regardless of how well Team Dramatic is playing, they're going to get the kill points. I believe that was at least 6 KP. They're going to walk away with 12 points from placement alone. We might see the #1 Pred team in theory in our roster get dethroned.
I mean, I'm kind of speechless. My jaw was dropped for a long time. Brilliant plays from Team Baby, and I mean, now they've shown they've taken 2 games. They've got the confidence. They were rotating well. They were shooting well. They're using their player abilities very well. They're just looking so strong to me. I think they're my new favorite team to win this event. It's tough to say, there are still some games up ahead, but man, back to back, I mean, they are just slugging through the competition right now. Heads up to Team Baby, man. Hats off to you guys. That was very, very, very brilliantly played, Apex.
Guys, I don't think I've ever said it in my history of casting, but I'm gonna go ahead and say it now. I want us to go to a break. We give a courtesy break, right? That's what we do. We got to make sure the players are good. The sooner I can take us to break, the sooner we can get those scores tallied because I am ready to put the gold medal on. I'm so excited for this team. We're mailing those trophies right now. I'm unbelievably impressed. That was so good. And guys, we're just closing chapter 4 of our 6-chapter book. We have 2 more games to play. A game number 5, we talk about how this is going to happen, right? We're probably going to see a slower paced game. Right at the end, we might see a little bit of faster pace. And then game number 6, we've seen in 2 different ways across how you and I have been able to cast Apex. Sometimes it's a slugfest. We're dead by zone 3. Sometimes we have 16 teams alive literally in the final zone and a bunch of caustics are emote dancing next to each other on a roof. Like, I mean, it is so unbelievably difficult to cast that ahead of time. I'm just genuinely excited. Nate, before we cut to our break, do you have anything in closing?
I'm just so stoked. I mean, we really, at this point, we've got the story unfolding. We've got our potential victors with 2 dubs. I mean, if your team's dramatic, you have to win a game. You have to win game 5 or game 6. You have to. You have to. This is the time where legends are made, right? This is the time where these champions are going to be able to become champions or to fall. Team Baby is definitely in a good spot to win this now, and we've got that pred roster, Team Dramatic. They have to put up now. Now is the time to put up. I'm super excited to see it. I can't wait to come back from break. And that's really all I've got. I just can't wait to get this break over and done with so that we can get on to the next game because this is super exciting.
Well, we talked about this being the platform to elevate high tier AMs to being what looked like pro rosters. And this is the killing floor. This is the proving ground to do exactly that. And both of these teams are making fantastic cases out of that. Now, of course, we've got an orbiting group of top 5 players or top 5 rosters, excuse me, and teams will be able to show you after the break. But guys, I am as eager as Nate is. I'm as eager as you guys are in the chat after that upset. Let's get these scores tallied. We'll be right back with you. Don't you go anywhere. Guys, we are back. We are eager to share some scores with you. They are, excuse me, still being tallied. Nate, I see you leaning in. I always lead into the cut. What do you have for us?
I mean, we've just seen so many like explosive games. But now we have like, we've passed the halfway point. Team Baby with 2 dubs this tournament, and I mean, they were trailing just by a little bit. So I mean, that's definitely going to put them. And we previously Team Dramatic was our favorite team, but I think they're getting usurped right now. They've really got their work cut out for them. We are going into game number 5, so there's only 2 more games remaining. Team Dramatic's got to take a win if they want to win. They have to be the champions and they have to have a decently kill scoring game. It's got to happen. It's got to happen, or you're letting that money slip through your fingers because Team Baby is coming for blood and they want that money and they want that trophy. And they are doing everything they can for it. We see our game 4 MVP was Baby with 6 kills, 3 assists, and 1369 damage for securing that first place position. Just very, very solid. I mean, I can't say anything else about it other than just very, very solid all around. They just proved that they could do it 2 games in a row. And I mean, you've got to be feeling confident if you're on Team Baby. That's all I have. That you have to just be feeling good. You're playing well. You're moving as a unit. That's what you want to see, and they're doing it. Like, it's cool that I get to cast this in real time as it's unfolding, but I can't imagine just being a spectator watching this tournament go down because like we are seeing some just high tier gameplay today.
Absolutely. And keep in mind, this is a second player from Team Baby that has an MVP. So Team Baby, look at that. By 9 points, Nate. 9 points above Team Dramatic. Now, of course, Dramatic is, we had talked about them being a pred roster. Team Baby is also an entire pred roster. So, I mean, in theory, it makes sense that this would effectively be a clash of titans, right? Atlas and Zeus are swinging hammers at each other. But BWO Gaming, a roster that I know significantly less about, is still in the top 3 runnings right here. And SFC, very, very close to them as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And just looking at the points here, the way they're breaking down, we've got Team Baby with 35 placement points. So they have shown that they can place well, and they've placed pretty decently in every single game, winning 2 of them, right? But we see Team Dramatic, 31 kill points on the board. That's kind of a high number. just especially for how far we are into the tournament, we still have 2 whole games to play, and they've already got 31 kills. That to me screams that they're probably the best shooters in the lobby. Team Baby though, 26 kills on the board. That is quite a few. So Team Dramatic, if they get that first place position, if they win game 5 or 6, that will give them those 12 points that they need. They have to get that first place if they want to catch up, but they also have to make sure that they're getting a good amount of kills because I mean they've been doing it this whole event, but I mean 31 kills is a lot. But if they're not getting the positioning, the placements points, that you have to get that many more kills. It's making it that much more difficult for them to retake that first place positioning.
I agree 100%. And we talked about consistency, but consistency is great if you're getting top one, two, three. Consistency is not great if you're consistently not getting top one, two, three. I mean, again, you said it. You said it perfectly, Nate. They have a ton of kill points, which is fantastic. They're obviously either the best gunners in the lobby or up there, and they're getting a little bit of RNG. I would argue that Baby and Team Dramatic are the two highest gun skills that we've had the pleasure to see on POV here. I mean, we just need that placement. I mean, they have 24 placement. Team Baby has 24 placement points alone from 2 games. That's just nuts. They have 11 points across the other couple games that they've played in placement points, which I mean is great, but 24 out of 2 games. That's an incredible discrepancy between those two. So I'd love to see. I'm curious to see if we're going to see Dramatic maybe go for a 50-50 and potentially land on a team in another POI and just make sure that they try to rip some kill points and get a couple teams kicked out of the lobby. The problem with that would be, of course, with the 50-50, and for those of you joining us in the chat, a 50-50 in Apex terms refers to effectively a gamble, right? If you land on another team, you win your fight 50% of the time, in theory, because they get better loot, you get better loot. It's a gamble. You need the gamble to pay off to walk out with some extra points there. And I don't know if Dramatic is going to want to chance it, because if they have one blowaway game, they're right back on top. If they get a win with the same kill points that they've been getting, they do walk away with a victory. So this is a really tough call, Nate.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, the 50-50 is so high risk, high reward. Um, I mean, if they do it and they pull it off, you're getting those kill points, you're taking another squad out. Uh, but it's so risky. I mean, you may even seen legend comp change if they are going to go for that 50-50. Hypothetically speaking, you throw out a Revenant and you get a silence on a Gibraltar right away. He's the biggest target, biggest, meatiest target in the game, right? So if you silence that player, and we really haven't seen any Revenant gameplay, um, I don't know if we will, but I feel like a Rev could be very, very, very critical if you are going for that early 50-50 with those silences, if you manage to hit them, just because you're essentially shutting down other legends, mobility, they can't get away. Interesting to see, like the pacing has been pretty consistent through this event. We haven't really seen any 50-50s happen. Now may not be the time to go for it. If I'm Team Dramatic, I may just want to keep playing my game and doing what we're doing because it's obviously working. We're getting a lot of kill points. Uh, it's tough to say. I don't think we'll see a 50-50, but it sure would be exciting if we did.
I know. I mean, always internally, that's something that we love to see. But guys, actually, before we get headed into this game, of course, to verify tournament integrity, I know you guys take console gaming league seriously, as do we. There was a question of integrity on an unnamed player. We, of course, don't want to throw that name out without any validation. So we are going to be asking for a team to use a hand cam. So give us just a brief moment while we can have the administrators make sure that everything's running at the top tier of integrity. So we'll be right back with you as soon as we can make sure we get that cam on. As far as I understand, the players are lobbied, so we should be able to get back in very quickly. But we appreciate you taking it seriously, of course, as we do. We will be right back with you. All right, guys, and we are back. We are having the production team line up just to make sure that we have a player checked for validity in terms of the gun skill. I mean, there's no question that there are absolute monsters, leviathans of the industry in this lobby here. But of course, we just want to make sure and double check. So I am getting some pings from production that say that they're moving stuff forward. So we should be able to get a pretty clear, definitive answer. And as far as I understand, the lobby is going to be moving forward. We're just going to be asking for a hand cam in that regard. So good luck, of course, to all the teams. Everybody's been playing at a phenomenal tier. And Nate, I want to reiterate some stuff that we've been talking about earlier. We had talked about how Team Baby kind of came from behind. I don't even know if we can call it an upset now because Team Baby is consistently playing well. I don't know that that's an upset. I think the upset maybe is that Team Dramatic isn't actually performing at the team that we had expected them to perform, at the tier that we had expected them to perform at. We had talked about like a battle of the beasts. Do you think, we know it's possible, do you think it is probable?
It's okay. It's tough to say, right? Because it is an RNG style of game. There's a little bit of randomness in terms of circle, how you have to push. Maybe a team gets a circle that, they're on high ground and they get circle and then they don't have to push and everybody has to come to them. But the way that the matches have been playing out, I think Team Baby's played the most consistently. As they do have the most placement points in the entire lobby. So that to me just screams that they are consistent. They are consistently playing well. We saw them win 2 games. I think at this point they're just locked and loaded, and they're playing their game. And I think the cohesion is there. I think the game sense is there. I think the rotation knowledge is there. So no, at this point, again, I'm just a caster. I would love to be proven wrong. I think Team Baby has this one, man. They have just been playing so consistent today, and they've played consistent 4 games. They're probably going to be playing consistent in games 5 and 6. So, like we said, Team Dramatic really does have to win a game in order to take this, because that right now they're behind, and that lead is only going to increase.
Absolutely. And we talked about punching the ticket another day at the office kind of deal for some of these players. And this is not just a hourly ticket. This is your meal ticket because we're gonna have first place is gonna walk away with the cash prize of 250, second place with 175, and third is gonna walk away with 75. So even if worst case scenario, you've bought yourself a pretty damn nice lunch for $25 a hand. I mean, that's not bad split between 3 guys. And I mean at first place, 250 is not bad at all. It looks like production did just give us the go ahead, and we're going to be jumping into our lobby very soon. So it looks like everything is smooth. We're going to be getting our hand cam on board, and we'll be able to jump right into our game. But I am a little bit curious to see if we see any of these lower place teams maybe scramble. I mean, because we talked about it earlier, Nate. A high tier could go for a 50-50 to take out another high tier, right? That's what we could see. On the other hand, teams that have little to no points might land on a high tier and just hope to win some weird gamble. So we could see a double climatizer, right? Like teams contest Cloud9 in a lot of the open bracket tournaments where you see those high tier teams and also teams that want to make it through. People contest TSM, people contest C9, people contest Envy, which is not something that you would see in an exclusive lobby of high tier. So that might be a chance.
Yeah, definitely. Like if you don't have points, like what a better way to get points than to take somebody else out unsuspecting early game. If you do take out one of those Titans, they can't get kill points, they can't get placement points. So it could be a strategy that we see deployed here. I mean, heck, man, if I'm even having a bad event, I might just land on a team for the 50-50 for the heck of it, because, we're not getting kills. We're getting knocked every time we try to play. Maybe go for those cheeky early kills. Um, it's tough to say, but I would like to assume that the players will respect kind of the meta and those 50-50s. I mean, it is a bit of a gamble. You land on the highest ranked team in the lobby. Well, they're the highest ranked team in the lobby. What do you think is going to happen on that 50-50,
Right.
right? But it could happen. You take that team out and then you put yourself in that much of a better position to get points and to win. So we're gonna have to see. I would be very, very surprised to see a 50-50 from the higher ranked teams right now, but it wouldn't surprise me to see one from the lower ranked teams, just to kind of like, whatever, let's go for it. And then
Hmm.
so it's not out of the realm of possibility, but I definitely am not expecting it.
Me too. I mean, and as an analyst, I don't hope to see it. As a caster, I hope to see it. So I mean, kind of I'm in my own 50-50 in that regard. I've also seen some pretty aggressive crafting. There was a couple times where I mean, and it was at a kind of a throwaway moment. There was a team that was rushing up the train tracks towards what is now Landslide, used to be a train yard, and a crafter had dropped on the right-hand side of them towards West Frag, and a team just stood still in the middle of the train tracks and was crafting. And I thought to myself, like, what a gutsy. I mean, I agree, craft bats every time because we always run out of heals. Bats are a 0 to full shield heal, of course. But what an unorthodox kind of gutsy thing to do in a lobby full of very capable players. And they were not punished for it. They pushed through Landslide. I think they got like fourth place. I mean, I was just unbelievably impressed and also very surprised.
Yeah, we really haven't seen the crafters be used too much, but I mean, you can get great attachments for your weapon. You can get a backpack. There's all kinds of upgrades, and it goes with like the player advantage, right? It's if you are crafting, you are doing more things to benefit yourself and to give yourself that much more resources. The crafting is free. it's free. Like, why not try to craft? If you can get those canisters and craft something, it is literally free. There's nothing penalizing you for not doing it. Otherwise, those points just sit there. So might as well. I mean, even ammo. Like, oh, we saw a player run out of bullets for their flatline earlier. They had 8 bullets left, and they had to switch to the Mozam and go for some mid-range Mozambique shots. Crafting, you might have had that extra clip. It's tough to
Hmm.
say, but it's definitely like a viable thing. Like, I would like to see the crafting employed more. But like you said, you are sitting ducks. You are waiting there for somebody to shoot you while you're crafting. So it's going to be interesting to see if we start to see a little bit more of that in these last 2 games.
Course, and that the very visual kind of aura that comes out of the indicator that comes out when you craft, it shoots that kind of mint green radius out of the crafter when you craft as well. So I mean, unless you have a Gibraltar or some kind of defensible character that can kind of set you up there. I mean, even again, if you have to drop a Gibraltar dome on a crafter to craft, you're probably in a terrible spot because the dome means that someone's shooting at you, and now you don't have a Gibby bubble. You're probably sitting 45 seconds out from getting a bubble because it sits for 20 and you got a 30-second respawn on it. I mean, that's a brutal turnaround. I mean, usually I'm thinking of teams that would fight for the crafter and market. I'm thinking like an East Frag versus West Frag and maybe an Epi team dropping down. But I mean, again, like if you're an Epi team, you can just sit and poke at those. And if you're a West or East team, that's an easy ape into a building. You get one well placed grenade, and that team is not feeling so great. I'm a little curious, Nate. I'm going to throw you a curveball here because it looks like we are restarting the lobby here again. We just wanted to make sure that we had everything at the highest tier of integrity at the Console Gaming League. So we wanted to restart the lobby. We wanted to get everything, make sure as tight knit as it could be. But Nate, if we have a throwaway win, right? We're gonna say Team Baby takes another convincing victory and just shuts out the competition, shuts them out. What's a meme team comp you would love to see them run in game number 6? What's your meme team comp? Who are you looking for? I know you're a Rev
Like,
boy.
okay, so I would love to see Rev. I swear that the crouching mobility and the extra verticality is like such an underutilized thing. I definitely think Revenant is a little more viable than people give credit, especially with the silences. You can't Gibraltar bubble. Um, and then maybe a Rampart, build some
Mhm.
extra walls. I don't know. And then the third one, kind of a throwaway, man. I do like the Octane. I like that those high aggro squads. So it would be nice to see.
Be some high octane gameplay. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Nobody ever let me cast again. I'm so sorry I did that to our audience. But guys, we are going to cut one more time, and I genuinely apologize. We just want to make sure we had to do a lot of changes here to make sure that that team was valid, and then we did need to reset the lobby. And we've all played Apex before. We know how software goes. So give us just a moment here. We are going to cut to that break, and we'll be right back with you. We're headed into game number 5. We're coming off the backs of 2 victories from Team Baby that vaulted them into first place. So give us just a brief moment. We're going to touch base with production and see what the time interval is going to be. We should be able to put up a timer on your screen to go ahead and jump into that lobby. And Nate and I will be right back with you. Thank you so much for your patience. Well, guys, we said brief break and we meant it. We are back. So thank you guys for bearing with us. Again, I want to highlight the fact that we just want this to be at the highest tier of integrity as it can. And on the backs of that, I want to thank, of course, the Console Gaming League for not only putting the tournament on, but bringing me and Nate to you. So, of course, I'm Dragonite, joined by Nate Dogg, Tenacious Nacho. But there is one other person or one other group that we want to thank. That's going to be the bottom right hand corner image. That's going to be your team, Yes, YES. That is going to be the group providing the trophies. Yes, the trophies, the custom engraved ones with your Legends in game name and then your team name as well. I believe they are even backlit. I believe they're LED trophies, so they have some custom lighting on them as well. That's going to be your engraving supply. That's going to be etsy.com/shop/your engraving supply. So if you're a TO, if you're a hopeful, I mean, if you want to get some custom art for yourself, some friends, they do a whole slew of game-based iconography and images. So that's a fantastic resource if you're interested in getting some cool swag for your gaming den, if you would like to. But guys, we are headed into our game number 5. Right before break, we talked about coming off the backs of a hot victory from Team Baby and how we were maybe even thinking that they could walk away and take it all. But Nate, there are prizes, not just trophies. There's cash prizes involved. Tell us a little bit about the cash put up by CGL.
All right, so our first place, Victor, is going to take home $250. It's a pretty decent size of pocket change for, especially split 3 ways for your team. Second place, $175, not too shabby. And then our third place is going to be getting $75. Buy yourself some lunch, split 3 ways. That's a nice little chunk of pocket change. Maybe you buy yourself some Apex coins. Maybe you maybe buy some Panera bread. Who knows? But anyways, that's pretty good for a couple games of Apex on a Saturday, man. That is not too bad for your top three.
Absolutely. And the speed at which tournaments are run is so quick compared to some of the tournaments that you and I have been. Again, Nate and I come from a lot of different various titles. I mean, we both competed at Halo at a pretty high tier. I just can't even talk about how long I've been cold seated in different tournaments. I mean, just unbelievably long, couple hours between matches. So the fact that we're able to get through an Apex tournament in 4 to 5 hours, including the broadcast, is a fantastic hourly rate for the teams that are going to walk away with some of the prize money that we've got here. Now, we are finally going to be loading back into our lobby here, and it looks like the Skies team may have played a game here on and off. We've, of course, got those Masters tier emblems as well, indicating that they are at least able to get to the Masters rank. Predator, of course, is just the top 750 players in the Masters tier. So, a la a couple other titles like Valorant that will have, I believe Radiant, if I'm not mistaken, is going to be whatever that top, or Immortal, is just the top percentage of an existing rank. So same with Predator. But we're going to see a team landing in, we haven't actually been able to watch this POI in any kind of landing before. So, I mean, important to note, they are going to be landing, if I'm not mistaken, at the launch site. So the loot density here is fantastic, usually pretty uncontested. And at this point in time, I mean, all these teams have seen where the other groups are landing. So we're either going to see an intentional forced 50-50, or all these teams this far throughout the tournament are like, man, we're kind of on our back foot. We need to loot. Or the teams that are in first place are going to think, man, we're playing so well. Let's not screw this up. Let's get good loot. Let's do whatever we need to do. But we're going to have, of course, that loot priority right off the rip.
I mean, I definitely agree with the loot priority. Like, what a better way to better yourself than to get the guns and kits that you prefer as a player. It does come down to a game of resources, and that RNG factor does come into play. What shields did we get? What guns did we get? Can we do damage with these guns to level our shields up? It's all part of the game. It's all factors to be thinking of. And I kind of like that we're seeing squads land a little farther out and trying to get looted versus, just running in and going right out of squad. It's kind of name of the game. If you can get better loot, you might as well take advantage of it early game than letting the other squads get kitted up. So it's a tough thing to call whether you're not to play aggressively off the start or to kind of get looted. I definitely prefer to get looted myself, but I'm behind the desk and not on the sticks. So it needs to be taken with a grain of salt.
These are some brutal landings we're seeing from two of these rosters that consistently clash here. We're seeing the NSG team, that's a Caustic, a Seer, and a Gibby here, as well as another team, and it looks like Seer's maybe going to go for the long-distance Q right there. It looks like both of these teams are going to back off. We saw some great damage out of one of those players there initially, but all of a sudden they have chosen to back off. But we see one of the teams, the team that was actually running from them, it looks like is going to rotate directly into Countdown, where I think there are already two teams. We see both Gibraltar bubbles already employed as well, so this could be very, very punishing if either of these teams gets third-partied from the Lava Fisher team or whatever team landed Eastern Skyhook as well. So there's definitely a potential for a lot of third-party damage very, very quickly. We're going to see Starkiller, though. He is going to be pushing forward. This is on the AAS Red Squad. I believe that might be Aim Assist Red Squad. And we're going to see that Flatline come into play. My current favorite gun in the meta, the circular sight on it, which is my favorite sight on this gun as well. I mean, Starkiller is a man of my own at this point.
I mean, it's definitely interesting to see. The Flatline is not a gun that I would prefer to use. I'm a Hemlock guy myself, but again, the Flatline definitely does have that punch power, and it does do that mid to long range damage very, very well. So it's definitely one of the most viable guns in the game, especially as of now. I love that one squad backed down. Instead of fighting that engagement while both Gibraltar rebels were down, they opted to run away and stay away alive. That's critical here because you don't want to be giving up those deaths early game, especially when you can avoid it. I mean, you don't get kill points, you don't get placement points. So it's definitely a good idea to run away when possible and brawl out when you can.
Absolutely. And I like that we do have a Gibraltar using, again, we've talked about pick damage weapons. I mean, weapons that do stuff at a very long range. I mean, that's so beneficial, right? Because your Gibraltar, just like we saw right there, look at the little damage that's on his shield there. He was hard scoped, so he took the first incoming little bit of damage and was able to dish out significantly more. Look at that. We've already evoed to that purple armor. We got blessed with a blue, and now we are 488 damage deep right off of the rip. This is going to be Twitch Fusion, the Octane that you'll remember, unfortunately getting thirsted by that 90-yard Mozam over in the Lava Siphon area, and I believe game number 3 or game number 4. So obviously they're back for a vengeance. We see a lot of scopes that we don't usually see as well, but interestingly enough, the Baby team, I'm not entirely sure where their POI, I don't believe the teams disclosed POI landings before the tournament started. They may have just agreed to it in the tournament in-game chat there, rather than having us see that. But Dome is a pretty good density for loot. Often does have a crafter but it's so far removed from the map. If the map pulls anywhere separate from you, you have one hell of a long haul. I mean, you need the Olympus cars to get across this map if you're that far out of zone sometimes. So that can be very, very punishing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely going to be interesting to see how they play this out. I love that this team's trying to push in and just gets lit up by the team holding high ground, holding cover, holding advantage. So they are going to have to back up immediately. I do see the Gibraltar Rebel deployed. Everybody's trying to heal up. Not the wisest push, but sometimes you got to make those aggressive plays and try to get something happening. And they certainly had the confidence to do so, and wisely were able to escape with their lives.
Yeah, I really like that portal right there. The only thing to note was that Gibby Dome is now about 15 seconds out on its timer, and Wraith is, of course, entirely out of a portal. So, unfortunately, they're not able to do much, but it does look like that team actually, as you had said, Nate, wisely backed down. It looks like they got punished for actually taking that engagement earlier because their Bloodhound was down at a distance. So that is definitely going to be very, very important. It looks like we got a little spectate on Live a Low Baby right there for just a moment. We have Flax for One Up Gaming that we now have the POV of, and that's going to be our Valkyrie that you and I have talked about really liking for rotations, because this game has so many different characters you can use to do that. You can use a Pathfinder, you can use an Octane, you can use a Wraith. I mean, there's so many different ways to do that. And a Valkyrie, I actually think benefits this team better because she's stuck with two thick boys, right? We've got our Gibraltar and we've got our Caustic here. Beautiful pick damage coming out of this player with a Rampage too, who's tap firing. But I like this. It actually speaks to me that the team comp is smart, because as opposed to using an Octane pad where you can easily get hit out of the air, you can just Valk ult, go directly up and completely out of the aim assist range of any of the controllers very quickly.
Yeah, having the ability to drop on a squad or even escape from a squad when you have to is, I think it holds its weight in gold, right? Like, if you can get out of a bad engagement and just fly somewhere else, where the other team can't chase you because you flew away, right? There's Octanes can't chase you, Wraiths can't chase you, you are getting away. So I love that you can use the Valkyrie aggressively and defensively. It's definitely a counter pick in the meta these days. Not as often seen, but like you said, the two thick boys, she can just scoop them up and they can get out of there, or she can scoop them up and they can go dive on somebody. So just a lot of variable potential with the Valkyrie ult.
Absolutely. And unfortunately, it looks like that Gibraltar did not really have anything. We see Vesenkar able to get a beautiful kill with that Mastiff. We've talked again, Nate, a couple times throughout the broadcast right there about how great a Gibraltar is with a Mastiff, because that Eva does have that quick pump damage, but Gibraltar taking that arm shield can take the time to line up those chunky body shots that you will be able to get with a Mastiff and are often not as seen with an Eva. So a Gibraltar with that specifically, I think, is a far better pick than an Eva, unless you only have an Eva, which is still very powerful on its own. But that's a great coupling. In fact, we see a Rainbow Ape with a PK in hand, as opposed to that, as well as that fantastic Octane skin. You gotta give props to this game in its entirety. I mean, all the way down to even visual design. This game is just beautiful. Each gun skin has its own place. I mean, even low tier gun skins look pretty cool, I would say. But it looks like the Sentinel, or excuse me, the Longbow is going to come into play. The Longbow, a fantastic win. The player channeling his inner Nicewig Nation right here. Shout out to our boy Nicewig. Of course, the leader of the Longbow, him and Daltouche together. But a very, very, very punishing gun this season. And a lot of players get frustrated by it because at close range, it is almost hit scan and has very great damage output.
Yeah, and we talked about it a couple matches ago. We've seen a lot of G7 scout play, and I said a great way to counter that would almost be to use a sniper like a Longbow or your Sentinel, and then you're able to do like extra chunkier damage and to keep those players with the. I mean, we've seen it. The scout players just kind of take these pot shots at players almost for free from a distance, and it's almost free damage. So like, what a better way to counter that than to roll with a sniper? At least one of your squad mates to have a sniper. So it is nice to see that Longbow finally deployed in action.
Absolutely. And I mean, I think the Longbow is effectively your higher budget scout rifle, right? The scout has a much higher rate of fire, does I think 30-ish damage to most shots, and your Longbow supposedly does 60 to 90 depending on where you're going to hit. But that is going to be Russo. That was the team that we actually saw camped out towards the Climatizer. That was the Gibraltar Bloodhound Gibby the Gibraltar Octane Wraith combo. We saw them portal out wisely out of an engagement up above, but unfortunately that player was going to be camped out. We've actually seen those teams skirmish quite a bit at the Climatizer, taking out the likes of Hyde as well. And unfortunately, Devil Lord's going to find not the right space, and neither is Russo. But the charge rifle is going to come in, and Denox is going to get absolutely lasered. That was a 2-tap all the way to flesh and a bit of flesh damage here. So you see that player literally get startled. He jumped directly vertically getting out of that box. I mean, that's a lot of damage output from that charge rifle in a very quick moment.
Yeah, now they're pinned behind this rock, right? They know that player with the charge rifle is looking straight at them, and they're kind of like prevented from being able to loot this box. You know, the snipers are finally being deployed. We've seen a lot slower of a game this in these last couple matches. As boom, 49 damage right there. You know, these players aren't trying to go in and die in these close quarters engagements where you can be hit by ults, you can be hit by grenades. You know, we're starting to see this like long range poke battle start to come out, and I think that's going to be the pace for the next two matches. As we close out our event here, because these players are not trying to give up their deaths. They're trying to live for as long as possible. And if you can do that damage, you can level up your shield if you're the Gibraltar. So, like, why not, you know, go for that poke damage? It's nice to see the marksman and sniper rifles being used this far into the tournament.
I agree. And the absolute madman on what I believe is the Gibraltar player on SFC, who is running a 3x on his flatline. So, I mean, with good recoil control, that gun is absolutely disgusting, but controller players do tend to suffer with the recoil that's on a lot of auto weapons at that kind of range. That does tend to be mouse and keyboard range. But as you and I had talked about it, Nate, there are some players who can do it. It is genuinely possible, and it's possible but not probable. And if you can master that, you're going to have the extra help from the controller aim assist, as well as be capable at a long distance fight. So we're gonna see the longbow once again come into play, the 2x4 on that baby. It's gonna be in the hands of iCrypto. It looks like he is going for the damage onto those players that are jumping out of the top of the tower. Nothing is going to be found. Now, of course, these teams do usually favor Overlook. Traditionally, there is a beacon building. You do have a res. You're gonna have the entire Dorito to your own. You're gonna have a couple houses, a garage. I mean, there's a truck. You can see 10 teams here skirmish in Zone 6 all the way at the end of the game, depending on how that's going to be played out. So this is an often well-contested spot, and I think we're about to get a lot of beautiful gameplay.
I love this push into the building. France is able to take out that player pretty swiftly. Pretty much a free loot right now. We're switching to Team HRV. It looks like they're trying to get this zip line and maybe try to play for some high ground. This last circle is pretty tight. He gets sniped. He's knocked, but his teammate is there with the Gibraltar Rebel to get the revive. So no harm, no foul. It does look like he's going to be able to get those heals off if he has them, and he's popping a shield cell now. So again, no harm, no foul, but now you're up in the crow's nest, and you know there's players with sniper rifles kind of looking at you. So I'm not sure if this is the spot you want to be if you're Team HRV.
Yeah, it does not really look like it. And of course, I mean, we all talk about, Nate, you're absolutely right, no harm, no foul to a certain point there, because of course, as we've all been knocked, right, we've all been rezzed by our lovely Gibbies that we've had carry us in our solo queue. We've all had that one pub Gibby that's just an absolute pleasure to play with, who's genuinely playing for the team. And unfortunately, he has to res you once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, and all of a sudden you realize you get knocked the 5th time and you bleed out in a single second. So, I mean, unfortunately, the more times you get knocked, the more that happens, the faster your player character is going to bleed out. So although that res was very beneficial, it is going to potentially punish them. That could be a clutch punishment towards the end of the game.
Optics here.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially like we've said, these squads aren't really collapsing. They're playing a much slower game. It's a much more long-range game. Where traditionally with these rounds, you know, the first 4 games, we saw these players aping in with shotguns and SMGs and going for these close-quarter engagements that controller players tend to thrive in, right? But now we're seeing these long-range players. Like, they're going for the long-range plays. They're, you know, like you said, if I can knock you 5 times, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I'll just keep going for the knock. It's free damage. It's burning up resources. And if you've got a good vantage point, if you've got good cover, I mean, it's free damage. You know, if you're not being touched, why not lay down that fire like you can?
Let's talk about the angle camped by this team, by this Octane in the truck. I mean, unbelievable head camping right there. And his team is watching his back. They're leaving the Octane to try to farm a little bit of damage right there. We're going to see Devil Lord, though, do some convincing damage to a Bloodhound. I believe that was a 30 and then a 45 onto that player. Okay, tracking on I believe, the Gibraltar pushing across that hill. We, of course, do have red armor as well. Now, I mean, we're trapped. We do have good defense from height here, but I think he should have stayed at the entrance there when he was scanned, because Bloodhound has that couple 2-3 second scan that kind of indicates what you're doing here. But he may have employed what I was hoping for. It looks like the Bloodhound thought that they were going to rotate up that zip line, so they kind of pushed downwards to challenge. I would have liked them to hold that angle and then rotate potentially back up towards that zip line there. And it looks like they are eventually going to do that, as I had hoped. But I think they maybe could have got an outplay and maybe baited that Bloodhound into challenging there. But of course, I mean, at this far through the game, nobody does really want to give up kills. I don't think anybody's going to get as extra aggro as possible. Now, that 2x4 again on an R301 in the hands of Mr. Taylor, that is going to be another Predator. 270 damage off of his red shield there. And we have a Caustic. We've got the Gas Daddy and we've got the Gold Helm. So that is going to be one of the most frustrating characters to have to fight.
I love the movement here by this Octane. He gets shot and then immediately drops down to heal instead of taking the engagement at a Gibraltar bubble, right? This now forces the players that had deployed the Gibraltar bubble to have to drop down to contest them. Moving quite aggressively, he's down to shield cells, so obviously he's out of shield batteries. He's going to have to do these solo heals, which indicates to me that they are running low on resources. And this is kind of not what you want. You know, the sonar detected. Now they see that you're healing. They see that you're healing a bunch. And they're going to know that you're running low on resources, which it gives them that much more confidence to go into this engagement.
I agree with that. And we're going to swap to the other POV. This is going to be Star Killer, Overkill, and Fodderino, which I believe is going to be the AAS boys, and it is. And incredible chunk damage. Again, a man out of my own heart. I'm a longbow charge rifle guy myself, so love to see those 80 taps on those players. And it looks like the Caustic is going to be forced to back down, Nate. It looks like we do have a single battery, but this is SFC. It looks like there is another party that's been invited because I think they may be challenging towards the back of this. They smelled a little bit of blood, and here they are. We see that alternator that we saw absolutely beaming in game number 4 when we were contesting people in the lava area as well. When we were contesting them at thermal, we saw those chokes. That alternator was so impactful. For those of you that are in the chat that have been Apex fans for a long time, we're going to have some Season 2 and Season 3 PTSD flashbacks as that alternator is going to strip our shields in 2, 3, 4 shots. I mean, that is such a punishing weapon.
I mean, Team Baby is looking good right now. We got full shields, and as I said, you know, we get a whole bunch of damage on this Wraith player, but they seem to have pretty good kits. They seem to have pretty decently kitted guns. They've got the meds to deal with it. They've just been playing zone very wisely. I'm gonna see how they get out of this truck here because it looks like this other squad is trying to collapse on them. And we have talked about the dangers of being stuck in a building or stuck in one of these transport vehicles because you have nowhere to go. Your back is to the circle as they're hopping from car to car to try to get away and to put some pressure on this this challenging squad.
Absolutely, and I love the crypto because what we've got set up here is pretty much a constant Gibby dome, right? You're not getting hit from above. You're not really going to get hit by the sides, excluding some of the windows in the trucks. And crypto is going to be free to enter and abuse that drone. In some of these engagements right here. We see Taylor opt actually to stop healing there. I think he's calling out to his team that he's got a little bit of some damage right there. It doesn't look like they were able to get the knock, but that player is definitely flesh. Maybe another team stole that kill right there. And I mean, at this point, Team Baby, we see Taylor with the red armor. We see Livelo with gold, and then it looks like Obelix is very close with 150 damage separating them from red armor as well. And what we've been seeing is that this team is armoring up this truck further and further as we go here. That team obviously has a great spot up on the top of the God Rock, but they do not have any height protection right there. We see Obelix go for what looked like a kidnap right there. For those of you in the chat, that's a pretty rare play to see. You're going to see a Wraith jump into the air and cue a portal drop on the other side of something that's in the air. So your team can take that safely, but if you're able to send a player through it, they fall and have no ability to return back through the portal, so your team is awarded a free kill. Kidnaps are very rare and pretty difficult to do, especially in a tournament format with other capable players. But that was interesting. I was hoping to see a kidnap, but it doesn't necessarily matter as they push the slow team and are just able to tick out massive damage with a quick burst.
I love that he held off on shooting that player and kind of let them escape. You know, they didn't want to give away their position while they were looting. Team Baby, I also want to note, man, they are on the backside of this circle with Team HRV. So I like to see both teams kind of pushing for the backside of circle, trying to eliminate getting flanked, but because everybody has the same idea right now, you wind up with 2 or 3 squads in pretty close proximity to each other. We've got some great cross-range shots on from Devil Lord with this R301 here. He's just kind of taking these shots. We do get the break as we see that player is now broken, but that Team Baby is up on that cliff to their right, and they're kind of just like pinned down behind these canisters. I don't know why you would jump for the information there and take that flesh damage. Looks like the caustic gas is coming down. Octane has to pad out. We're gonna have to see how this is played. And great damage on the Octane player flying through the sky.
Yeah, that team was awarded 1 kill, so they ended up getting Fusion. He was the last member of his team, so he did die instantly when he got broken right there because he was already down to flesh shields. But this is the problem. That team opened themselves to those side shots exactly as you had said, Nate. That team opened themselves up for a vulnerability right there. Obelix and co were able to quickly execute that Gibraltar. This is what we were talking about why that Valkyrie was potentially so useful. Is because that Valkyrie could provide a great rotation for 2 of the thick boys that otherwise you can get punished for on an Octane jump pad. Beautiful shots out of Devil Lord, though. Unfortunately, they were able to get this Bloodhound, this Deathbox, we may be able to see them get a quick swap here, but Slater and Denox were both knocked for this engagement, unfortunately. Devilord able to get a couple kills, each team trading, getting 1, 2, 3 kills right here. It's sometimes just not enough. The Caustic is going to be able to get the kill right here. The blue armor swap is actually available in that crate if we really do need that at a last second moment, but that player is going to be forced to just rotate out and around, and is probably just going to be fodder for one of the couple teams in the proximity.
I mean, he definitely needs to try to stay alive, and there's a lot of chaos. We had almost 10 squads in this fourth ring here, and we are down to 4 squads remaining. We know one of them is that solo Octane player who's probably just going to be doing his best to live. AAS Red, I mean, getting absolutely lit up. Starkiller goes down to no shields, half flesh. Overkill is going to try to lay down some covering fire to protect him long enough to heal. They are rotating in towards the circle. And we see Devilord just kind of holding up. This is what he needs to do. I mean, if he can stay alive and live through the chaos and remain undetected and avoid being taken out, he may be able to eke out a win. It's going to be tough to say. He's definitely got his work cut out for him. But I mean, Starkiller is just laying out the damage with this R301 right now.
Well, let's look at the amount of players in the lobby, right? I mean, we can do some simple math here. 4 squads at full would be 12 players. We know there's a solo Octane. What that tells to me is there's only 1 or 2 full squads here. We have Team Baby, of course, with our 1 full squad. Obelix as well with a portal there. It looks like somebody got the bleed out. That's going to be Team No Way FKB. That's iCrypto, able to get the kill onto Devilord, who was the solo Octane. I mean, he netted them 4th place, and they got a considerable amount of kills. So not necessarily terrible, but we do, I believe, see an Octane or a Wraith player moving up under the God Rock here. The Crypto ult is going to come in, and they should be awarded some very quick, easy kills right there. It was just outside of the proximity of those Caustic barrels. They're not going to pop their own barrels. The Gibraltar is going to fall. The ult is going to hit. The Gibraltar is not thirsted, so that ult is still going to continue to fall, but that Gibby may end up actually taking himself out with that ult, as unfortunately he was stunned there. He may be awarding the opposing team any kills right there. I think they're going to push back for this thirst at the base of the God Rock, and then opts to probably not challenge and give up too much height right there. We do see that down player. He's got that purple shield up. He's going for a little bit of blocking right there, but unfortunately that AAS overkill player, that's going to leave only 1 player alive left on AAS. And unfortunately, he's going to fall pretty quick. No Way Crypto able to take him out. Nate, we've got 2 squads left. No Way and Baby.
You know, Team Baby really has just been playing this so smart. They have maintained their high ground control throughout this entire last ring. Throughout all the team fighting that's gone on, they have maintained high ground. They've been putting out damage. They've been picking off solos when they can. You know, when a player overextends, they're collapsing on it. And I think we're about to see Team Baby take their 3rd victory in this tournament today.
I definitely think that's probably the highest potential here. I'm not entirely sure. It looks like we do actually have the No Way POV in that beautiful picture-in-picture at the top left-hand corner right there. And that is going to be another full team. So we do have 2 full teams, 3 on 3. I mean, this is about as Clash of the Titans as it can get. I do personally like Team Baby's height advantage that they have right here. And the Caustic Gas is going to come out. He's going to be able to back up and heal. We see the gas ticking, but unfortunately the zone is going to come in. And I don't believe Team Baby's going to make it out. Team No Way able to get the alternator hits. And we do see at the champion screen, Team No Way FKB is able to dethrone the back-to-back. We were not able to get 3 in a consecutive series here. Team Baby performing well, but Team No Way FKB coming from behind to hit what looked like our best play team.
And what a way to close it out. I mean, they sent in with full confidence. They knew they were going to get those knocks. As soon as they knocked the shields off of that Wraith player, they knew it was time to go in. And you saw that Caustic on Team Baby kind of peek out, and he saw 3 dudes running straight for him. I mean, I cannot think of a more terrifying thing, especially when it's 2 squads remaining. You know you've got a teammate that's weak on shields, and then you see 2 players flying straight at you. I cannot believe it. Great job out of Team No Way. I definitely enjoyed watching them on the last broadcast. It is nice to see them take a game here today.
I agree 100%. That was one of our teams to watch in the previous series. They were in our Pool A for the EU Summer Series here with CGL, and they were just a pleasure to watch last time. So definitely, of course, a team to keep your eye on, especially if they're going to be up there on the scoreboard with the likes of Team Dramatic and Team Baby. So, I mean, that is no small accomplishment. I mean, a victory in this group of players at this stage in the tournament is definitely important. I'm curious to see where that moves them on the leaderboards, but guys, we're headed to what I believe is going to be our final game, Nate. We talked about a storyline. We talked about a book. We talked about all these cliffhangers we keep getting. And we got another one. We got another cliffhanger because we still have to look at the scoreboard. There's no epilogue to have been read yet. I mean, there's no afterword. There's nothing. We're at the tail end of the book, but we're not there yet. So guys, we will be right back with you. Of course, I'm your host, Dragonite. I'm joined by Tenacious Nacho. And of course, we're here with the CGL Summer Series broadcast. We were headed to game number 6, and we will be right back with you. So we have talked about maintaining our 5-minute breaks. And I think out of all the things, we get a pat on the back for that. We have been right on the nose with these beautiful 5-minute breaks every single time. The console gaming league is trying to keep the action pushing towards you as fast as they absolutely can. Of course, we have to thank them for having both of us on board. But Nate, less thanks and more props. No Way FKB coming out of absolutely nowhere to get a considerable amount of points, to take a victory right there. We do have a Game 5 MVP. That's going to be Devil if I'm not mistaken. And Devil actually not on that previous team of No Way FKB. I'm going to take just a moment to peek at what roster Devil was on, but I believe it was the HRV roster, and it was. That's going to be Slater, Devil and Denox. Denox. And look at the damage coming out of an Octane, Nate. Look at that. I mean, that's exactly what an Octane is for, but that's pretty impressive considering the Devil was that Octane that was running around very late. I believe that was the 4th place Octane that ended up getting killed by No Way.
I mean, I said it multiple times that game. He was doing mad crazy damage with that R301. So we have our tally here. Team Baby's in first place with 78 total points. That is absolutely insane to me. 44 of them are placement points and 34 are kill points. So Dramatic now falls with a pretty substantial deficit. They're gonna have to have one heck of a game if they're able to pull this off. And Team BWO Gaming close behind. SFC close, only 2 points behind third place. And our top 3 is going to be the money today. We do have $250 going to the first place team, $175 going to the second place team, and $75 going to that third place team. So now I think it becomes less of a question of who's winning the event, but who's going to be our 2 and 3 slot. 'Cause this is it. This is the money. We are on game number 6. Like this is it.
Absolutely. I mean, we're headed to it, and it doesn't look like. I mean, you're going to need what, Nate? Did you do the math on that? I think 26 points. I mean, it's just unbelievable. I do want to check with production here, so give me just a moment. I believe there may be a change in some of the point structure here that we're going to need to retouch on. So give me just a moment there. But I'm genuinely just impressed by all of the gameplay from all of the teams that we've seen across the entire tournament. And as we head into this game number 6, I mean, you have to give a nod to everybody that's been, I mean, fighting just tooth and nail the entire time to get here. So nothing but proud things for all of these teams and kind of just everyone and everything. Console Gaming League's made it easy. We have the trophies from Yes. I mean, you've been a fantastic partner for me, Nate. I mean, just as we head towards our final chapter, I keep using the book illusion, but I mean, it's been a wonderful format, wonderful groups of teams. I mean, I'm just really pleased as we head into our game number 6.
Yeah, absolutely. I have just been, I mean, it's so cool to get to see these, like, you can get into the mind of a player while you're watching the event. You know, you can see what they're thinking. You can see into their brain with these micro plays and little decisions that happen. And I just love the nuance of competition. I think it's very exciting to watch, especially when there's a little bit of money on the line, you know, that makes it that much more exciting. Team Baby, though, let's talk about it, man. They could pretty much throw this game and get knocked first, and I think they could still take this game if they get no points there. So 26 points in the lead. Team Dramatic has to have not only a high kill game, they have to take champions if they want to win this. It's definitely not out of the realm of possibility, but it is a possibility. But man, Team Baby's just playing top-notch Apex today. I have loved watching them today. I mean, in all the competition, man, it's tough. Everybody, there's going to be a loser. There's going to be a last place in every event. So just again, another nod to the people who decided to take their time out of the day and compete and you know, put themselves out there. Hats off to you guys, whether you placed first or last. Just a big nod to all the competitors today.
I want to give a big nod to the competitive integrity we keep referring to at CGL. There was a suspected player for an unnamed issue that had happened previously, and we had asked for a hand cam, and unfortunately, during the previous match, that hand cam turned off during one of the games. So unfortunately, that team was required to forfeit some points. None of the players from that roster are going to be given any points from that previous team. So if you do see a point discrepancy at any point on that leaderboard that looked unsuspecting or looked incorrect, we are not necessarily naming that team cheaters, but unfortunately, they were forced to forfeit the points from that round. So, I mean, in the interest of integrity, we just want to make sure all players are required to abide by the CGL rules, and we want to make sure that the competitive nature is kept correctly for all of the competitors and even for the fans. And unfortunately, we had a little bit of a rule violation, so we're going to need to move forward as such. But as we head into game number 6, that doesn't necessarily write anyone out. We just want to make sure that everything is hunky dory, if you'll say. So we're gonna be headed into our game number 6, guys. I mean, as Nate had said, we're closing up the tail end of an incredible tournament. We've seen a lot of wins come from behind. I mean, we saw Team Baby come back with 2 back to back. I mean, take a second place in that previous one, and if I'm not mistaken, I believe they were awarded the first place points from that match. Um, I mean, dramatic, Nate. That's such a weird one. We saw dramatic come out swinging. We talked about how consistently, and I mean, we've all seen a line graph, right? We all made it through high school, and the line graph's moving downwards. We don't like that. We know a negative slope is a bad slope.
Well, I mean, okay, so it goes with the nature of competing, right? Maybe they got a little overconfident. You see this happen from time to time where a team comes out so hot that, they kind of lose those the killer instinct that got them there in the first place. Maybe they just got a little, oh, we've got this lobby, this is easy, and then they're starting to fall behind. It does happen, right? Maybe they just had a couple lucky games. I don't think that's the case because they've been shooting pretty dang good today, if you ask me. But it is definitely something to consider. Also, I mean, 6 games of Apex, especially in a competitive nature where you're trying and you're sweating and you want to get these wins and you're taking these sweaty little pot shots at people, it's mentally draining. It could just be a case of mental fatigue. This does happen. You see it in all titles. You see a player burn out mid tournament, and sometimes it's more of a race of who can maintain the longest. At the beginning of the tournament, Dramatic was the number 1 team, and they were playing like the number 1 team. And maybe they burn out, maybe they got a little unlucky. Right now, it's Team Baby, and these things happen. It's a lot of variability. Maybe there's a vacuum cleaner running at home. Maybe there's a screaming child. You never know what these competitors are going through at their own house. So there could be external factors to the game as well that may affect these players. Definitely interesting to see. Either way, Team Dramatic has been playing wonderfully. I don't want to discredit them in any way. They have been playing very, very solid Apex. It's been a good day to watch some Apex. It's been fun for me. I hope it's been fun for you guys. I'm excited to get into this game number 6.
Nate, that's such a big thing you brought up, though. The external factors related to a game. Oh, I have to use, oh, it sucks. My monitor broke the day before the tournament. Now I'm on a 60 hertz monitor as opposed to a 144 or whatever your hardware. You have to play with some different hardware, the vacuum, like you said, a crying child. I mean, there's so many factors with a COVID environment that can come into gameplay. I mean, again, as we've said throughout the tournament, Nate and I have competed both digitally and at LANs for the greater part of 10 years. And a LAN is a very different environment. You always get the Twitter poke and it says 1v1 me on LAN. I mean, of course that's a clout chasing gag, right? On the other hand, LAN does level a playing field that otherwise may have not been leveled, and your tinfoil router could really be impacting you. And so there's a lot of external factors, and that's really important to note. I mean, mental fatigue is huge going into competitive games. I mean, that's absolutely massive. There's so many factors, so that's a great thing to bring up, Nate.
I would also like to note that if you are playing on an original Xbox One as opposed to PC, you are playing at 60 hertz. So if you are on PC, you're potentially getting a higher frame rate, a higher refresh rate. The game's moving faster for you. So that is another thing to consider here. Again, it's in nature. Maybe somebody's controller's got a little bit of stick drift. Maybe they're on a brand new controller and it's a little bit different. It doesn't quite feel the same. There's just more external factors to consider, especially in an online tournament.
That's very true. And a high tier console player will migrate and will, at least in my mind, be a very high tier computer player as well. I mean, I moved from a console myself probably 2 weeks ago. I've played ranked Apex for about 3 days in that specific time frame, and I did a bronze to masters climb in 3 days. And I have not been doing the masters climb on console at all with the hardware. I mean, the peripherals just didn't fit me correctly. So that is absolutely impactful to note too, that it can amplify already high tier players. But guys, there will be no more guessing. There will be no more maybe is this team going to land here? Maybe is this group doing something? No more maybe. This is game number 6, and we are headed right on into it. Nate, I am feeling fantastic about the way this has been planned, run. I mean, top to bottom. The competitors, we appreciate you guys' patience with integrity. You've allowed us to do everything we need to do, both as casters and as a competitive gaming organization, and we have nothing but good things to say and nothing but thanks. And game number 6, Nate, I'm feeling fantastic.
I've got a big smile on my face. It's been a wonderful day. Just really good gameplay. I've loved the decisions I've seen today. We've seen some nutty shots. We saw some great shots with that charge rifle last game. It's just been a cool day. We've seen a lot of weapon variability. We've seen some champion variability. It's just been a neat day for Apex.
It really has. And that champion variety that you're referring to, we've got a crypto on our highest tiered team, our highest placing team in the entire lobby. Crypto is not that meta. I mean, you've got quite a few other characters we've talked about it. Your Seer has been a scan meta. You've got that Bloodhound, right? I mean, Pathfinder to a point can hit beacons, but he doesn't scan players. Crypto is considered pretty weak because that player has to go immobile to do most of the things that they're doing. This is pretty unorthodox to see a Crypto perform that well. We do on the left hand side of us already see Win for the money though. Already with the blue shield there, so right off the drop, that's Team SFC that isn't necessarily out. They're down a little bit, but not bad and not out. We do see Rice moving forward there as well. We saw blue armor in the cart behind us, and he is going to be landing at the No Man's Land POI. And a man of my own heart, the Sour Patch Pathfinder, Nubicide. Nate, we had talked about wanting to see a little bit of a meta shakeup here. I'm really liking it.
I mean, I think they're going to send it. I really foresee Nubicide just kind of going all out. As he opts to leave that sniper rifle there, I think they're going for blood this game. I think, you know, they've made it this far. I think it's time to just full send and have fun and play the best that you can. And I think that's what we're doing here is, you know, I feel like it may be, they'll play a little bit better. Maybe the nerves are more gone because it's the last game, you know, you never know. Definitely excited to see this Pathfinder in action though.
Me too. And that skin, I believe, has only entered the recolor shop one single time. I believe that is the green machine, if I'm not mistaken. So, again, Pathfinder main for a very, very long time, and he holds a dear place into my heart. So getting to see him, I'm not going to say competitively viable, but at least played in a competitive market is fantastic for me. But we've got the R301 in the hands of the NSG boys, and unfortunately, it does look like they had one player that dropped out. So they are going to be, we did get confirmation from the production that they're going to play through as a duo right here. We're going to see Oscar, though, sent into a building that does already look like it's looted. I mean, you see the bins hit. We do see that player on the bottom right-hand corner of the screen silhouetted in white as well, kind of running through the background right there. Now, whether we know that's a teammate or whether we know that that's an enemy, we're not entirely sure yet. But FTL, I believe that might be another Pathfinder, if I'm not mistaken. In that left-hand side of your screen there as well. So I think we might get to see a little bit of my robot boy showcased in our game number 6.
I remember when Pathfinder, you know, early Pathfinder, he was the man. He was like a Tarzan swinging through the trees. We have an early knock on Team Baby here. This could spell disaster. They do have a big point lead, but they're gonna need to get this player picked up. Would spell travesty for Team Baby right now.
You know, the good news was we saw Obelix able to get a knock in the background. We also saw a player damaged in flesh. I don't know if they were going for the thirst or I don't know what they were trying to employ in that specific engagement was. But obviously there is a downed player. They look like they're going to be able to get that thirst there. And we are going to see that player griefing on the doorway. Beautiful big brain plays from that Caustic, though, because although he was knocked, he was opening the door to let them get the thirst onto that player, and a player potentially go for the armor swap. Livalil and Obelisk both. We see those players broken. We're thirsting the Pathfinder. It should only be one player left in theory, and it looks like they were able to get that wipe. So Caustic may survive another day, but I think we may have seen a PK shot chasing in from a different angle right there. Crypto dropping the drone and then going for that ult as well to hit that player on the roof. Obelix, a one shield and a dream, and I believe the third party's coming in. The flesh damage onto Gibraltar, and they're saying, live a little, baby. It's your job. You gotta go. Live a little.
This is worst case scenario for Team Baby right now. They've done great all tournament. Did they do enough to secure that first place victory? This is exactly what you want to see happen if you're Team Dramatic right now. This could open the door for you to take this whole tournament. If they have a good kill game and win, I don't know what's going to happen anymore. This is Team Dramatic time to shine.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm thinking of the metaphor burning a candle from both ends, right? I mean, if you're denying them points and you're getting points of your own, I mean, that's huge. I love the ego grapple out of the ROO. So as a Pathfinder player, what he was going for was to grab the knockdown shield of that player, pull him away from the door so his team was able to force for a thirst and get that loot box there. So definitely a good play, but they were already awarded an extra kill right there, unfortunately. It looks like Ares, though, is going to do his best to stay alive. We have a Caustic again. These rosters with players down, of course, are playing a little bit more traditionally defensive. And we do see in our beautiful picture-in-picture at that top left-hand corner, we see that Caustic sitting in that building there. Snifty, though, Snifty and his crew also, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that's the Vittori roster, and it looks like they might be down the player Hyde, unfortunately.
Yeah, maybe they had a problem lobbying up, and I mean, it was the last game, so they decided to run as a duo. A little unfortunate, but props to them for sticking it out and continuing to play this last game as a duo.
We're seeing, I believe, on the right-hand side of our screen there, I believe that's going to be our Valkyrie. Again, that team that has been orbiting with the Chunky Boys. We've got Chief and Poka as well. Poka was originally a Bloodhound. It looks like maybe back on the Bloodhound character. I know they relegated a little bit of that duty, and it looks like they did. Chief is unfortunately going to be absolutely lasered by what looks like a longbow there, coming in hot, but able to take that portal out that Wraith is thrown directly into one of the houses here. We're going to see the barrels go up. We're going to see maybe some wide shots coming, though, from another team trying to pick some damage there. Great shots. Fortunately, that Caustic had the foresight to not get hit in that engagement right there, but that was a rough almost knock for that team very, very early.
Yeah, I love that the Caustic was able to sneak away with his life and not take those damaging shots because I mean they were close. I mean those bullets were coming in through the window and I myself got nervous and I'm not even in the match and I got nervous. So I mean just really heads up for him to be able to take that portal, block the door, and dodge the bullets to stay alive. You know, just trying to get that one extra engagement. You know, that extra moment may have costed him the. You know, you can't kill him. So I mean the getting away with your life is massive here.
Absolutely. And I think that the unfortunate part is, I mean, the portal from the Wraith was beautiful. It's going to take them quite a while to get out of that building, is my guess. Because, I mean, you're going to have these teams. I mean, we saw Leveration, and I believe that's the SFC roster, run down towards them with all purple. So that team has two things. They can either run out, maybe get lucky, get away. I don't think it's super probable. Maybe they make one or two players get out of there, or they die. Those are pretty much the choices you have. Outside of sitting in the building. I mean, you're fortified with a caustic, right? So at least you're going to make them fight on your home turf, but that is not a necessarily well-placed setup there. And we have the No Way FKB roster. It looks like they are right on the right-hand side, or maybe right behind one of these teams here. We may see SPC Gaming get lit up from behind as we see this beautiful, again, this picture-in-picture flyover. It looks like that team is walking up directly behind them. We do see blood on the screen as well. That Bloodhound is giving the indicators. Players jumped here, players were wounded, explosions, and so on and so forth. So they know that they are directly trailing a team.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the benefits to having a Bloodhound as opposed to a Seer. With the Seer, you get the information if you're close. But with Bloodhound, you have that ability to track the players and to figure out where they went and to know for certain whether or not they were there or were not there. You can even see what direction they moved. Maybe they don't want to engage, and you can see that information and you can choose to take a different route because you see where the other team went. That's why I said, man, Bloodhound is an absolute staple for me in terms of my definition of Apex. He's the champion I think of. When I think about Apex, it's very nice to see him, especially in a game 6.
Absolutely. And I mean, you just kind of can't go, no matter what roster you are, you can't go without some kind of recon character. I mean, we affectionately, maybe less affectionately refer to it as the wall hack meta, as it's currently given. And there's a lot of players on both sides. A lot of players like being able to get that information. A lot of players say that they're traditionally unskilled characters because information shouldn't be that available. And unfortunately, regardless of what side of the coin you're on, the characters are available. You're going to pick what's best in the utility belt to use, right? I mean, so by default, we're going to see a lot of those Bloodhounds, a lot of the Seers. I'm really impressed that we are seeing a Crypto. Again, that's one of my absolute favorite things that's possible. Just considering that it's not counter meta, but it's kind of counter meta. We're going to swap over to BWO and then over to AAS Red, though. This is, I believe, the aim assist boys from the previous engagement, or the previous tournament, and they've been kind of middle of the road for me. I mean, sticking it out, BWO has been playing phenomenal. They were able to get a victory early on. I believe game number 1 or game number 2, BWO was able to walk away with a pretty convincing fight, actually, initially. So curious to see if they're able to keep any of that going, but this is a tough lobby, to be completely honest with you. As we see, Live a Little Baby, unfortunately, was killed by Snifty. Nate, I believe that knocks Team Baby entirely out of game 6.
Yeah, I mean, they're done. That was it for them. They're gonna have to hope that they earned enough points in the previous 5 games because that was it. This really does open the door for Team Dramatic to come in and maybe seize the victory. Now, there was a massive point discrepancy. I think Team Baby only managed to scrap up 2 kills this game, so that is 2 points. I believe that's gonna put them at 80. I'll have to see the final tally to know for sure, but hey, I mean, Team Dramatic could do it. They need to have a high killing game and they need to win. We have some great shots out of No Way France here with that R301. It looks like they are going to be chasing this player down, trying to get that knock, trying to solidify these kill points as a player does fall.
Looks like the longbow is going to come from the top of the hill up there. I mean, that was pretty much where we saw the SFC Gaming Squad and I believe the Stick Drift crew. And case in point, the Stick Drift crew has rotated in towards Geyser. We have quite a bit of gunfire and quite a bit of fighting going on, considering that we're really in only Zone 2. We still got a minute out of that as well. A team probably holding the top of the hill house. Maybe a little wide on that scan from Signy, but I think he may have been checking to see if a player was ratting below just to try to get a little bit of damage. But it actually looks like Snifty is okay. So Snifty is still in this as a solo. I mean, we may have even gotten the banner at that point. So there is actually, in my opinion, a chance for Snifty's team to do a little something. But we do see that team entirely padding, hopefully able to get that little bit of kill right there. It looks like that Octane's going to be left in flesh. I mean, he is going to need to queue all the way out of this engagement if he can even hope to stay alive. But unfortunately, there's an Octane behind him. He's going to need to take this knock.
Yeah, he's got. I mean, maybe at this point, try turning on him, but he knows he's got 3 players behind him. It looks like he was able to get away. It looks like they don't want to continue to chase him. I mean, at this point, the circle's about to close. I mean, you might as well play for the circle at this point. It's 1 kill. It's tough to say if he was able to get any banners, but I mean, this happens in Halo. Sometimes chasing a kill is the wrong play. You don't always want to chase kills. In this instance, I feel like that may be one of those situations. There's no reason to chase him. We're close to circle. We're still alive. We have shield. We have health. Maybe just let him go in this instance.
I agree, and they had the foresight to be able to guess that he was going to return from this choke. So another team's either going to kill him and it's going to move them forward in terms of their placement points, or Snifty's going to be forced to rotate, and they can just get a little bit of extra meal. I mean, it's like when you go to the fast food restaurant and somebody goes, yeah, we can upsize that. I mean, this is your upsize, right? And unfortunately, though, we are going to see a team take a really tough engagement in this bubble here. The crowd strafing's coming in from Chirice, but absolutely no support from their Wraith here at all. Not even a single tick of damage. I mean, it's great to not take damage in that engagement, but Gibraltar domed directly on top of that Octane, that Krish player that we do see, Krish FPS in the bottom left for SPC. And unfortunately, they forced what was a 3v1. The Bloodhound then forced a second 3v1 at his own deficit, and then Wraith was left to just run. And unfortunately, it does look like that SPC entirety of that roster is going to go down.
I mean, well played by the squad that wiped them. They're kind of between a rock and a hard place. They were able to force those 2 3v1s, just like you had mentioned. I mean, what are you going to do when you're one player and you've got 3 players shooting at you? It doesn't take that much time. If you're being shot at by 3 players, it can be a matter of instance on that 3v1 that you're taken out, and then boom, your squad's at a deficit. I mean, the Wraith tried to escape a little too late and was almost immediately taken out. So it was just really good plays by them to be able to see that, okay, we have a 3v1 if we jump now, and they did. And then they got another 3v1, and they were able to get the whole squad knocked. It was just very well executed to me.
100%. And speaking of getting squad knocks, we've got Devilord on this team in the kill feed. That's HRV again. Devilord swapping over to an Octane rather than a Bangalore, and I am genuinely appreciative and I'm impressed. Although, incredibly surprising, gunfire from directly behind onto the team that was on the top of the epicenter right there. They are going to be forced to Octane pad directly into the other side of the combat they were trapped in, and Devilord is not going to get the battery off. The Gibraltar bubble is going to go down, so there's no way to get him a bubble into safety there. That is a very, very dangerous place to be. I don't know that roster, the HRV team, is going to potentially make it out of that engagement.
We are seeing some kind of upsets in this game 6. I feel like maybe everybody's just full sending. We've seen some pretty wild engagements this game already, and we still have 11 squads left. That to me screams that we're going to have one explosive clash of titans at the very end of the game. I can't wait to see all these squads face off towards the end of the game once that circle's even smaller.
Yeah, it's a very unpredictable series of fights here, right? Because all of this is so sloppy. Beautiful headshot lineup, though, from the no sight on that wingman there, and a lot of players do opt that. I personally am an HCOG kind of guy on my wingman. I like the dot sight, but I mean, regardless, they were able to get the Octane up. It looks like that player couldn't get the thirst onto Devilord, so they finally had the time to get that Gibraltar bubble up, like the full 30-some seconds that it would take not only for the bubble to expire, but also to respawn. And they were able to get Devil not only up, but back centric with his team. So they are going to be contesting what looks like a team that's moving to the top of the train tracks here. That is going to be at the top of the train station in Capital here. And that is a pretty rough spot to be. I mean, I have won many a fight on this pipe here, but beautiful headshot lineup from Chifuyu, Nate. That was a perfect 4-tap, an 86, 45, 45. Glorious shots out of that player.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, those players were trapped in that pipe. It was kind of just free damage. All he had to do was hold that sight line and rip bullets down into that pipe. And he was rewarded with a nice, easy 4-tap. It looked great. It was beautiful. That, to me, screams highlight reel.
Absolutely. You walk away with a victory from that, and I'm spending part of my prize money on one of those photo frames. I'm going to get a GIF of that, put it on a photo frame, and look at it every time I go to bed. That was absolutely beautiful. I want to wake up and feel like I have that gun skill every single day. I am just so impressed by that. But we do have another roster that is still alive. That's our AAS roster, and our Vittori boys are down, but almost out. Not necessarily out. I mean, we've got one blue shielded Octane, and honestly, we have to give props. That's going to be Snifty, who obviously was there to help his teammate. I mean, they're already down a man. I appreciated this player that in our spectating POV, our SFC roster, checking their corners and they're making sure there weren't any rats, because of course you're trying to further yourself through the tournament here. But good job to that single player on Vittori for at least ratting to stay alive. That player is now top. Really tough series of fights, though, unfortunately, as we saw that Gibraltar ult coming down, and it was forced that player into that engagement there. He either had to be in the bubble against the Gibby or take the Gibby damage outside. That's exactly where you don't want to be. 57, though, unfortunately, there's so many players in his POV. He gets the knock. The Wraith is left with flash, and he's awarded the kill. kill. His teammate walks out with 10 health and a dream, and Shifuyu, the man of the wingman moment on the screen, we're adding that to the GIF. We're putting that on the nightstand, and we're going to look at that one before we go to bed.
Oh my goodness, Shifuyu is completely cracked right now. I cannot believe the shot discipline. The biggest nuance of that play to me was when he turned the corner and saw 3 players, he cut back behind the pipe and he turned that 3v1 into a 2v1 and then got the knock, and then it was a 1v1, and then he clutched that one, and then he only had to secure that one last kill, and he was able to do it. And wow, just Shifuyu with the gun skill today.
Absolutely. We had talked about that roster being another one of our ones to watch in the previous crew, because they were in our pool, in the A pool of the previous setup where we had the 40 teams. We were cutting down to the 20. So I'm just kind of honestly impressed. I believe that is the ROO roster here, and unfortunately they were our 20th seed, so in theory the least capable team in the lobby. But look at Shifuyu. 7 kills right now, 2 assists. So obviously his teammates have 2 kills of their own at some point. I mean, this is probably maybe a 10 to 15 kill lobby for these guys.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. I mean, 7 kills on the board out of Shifuyu. That is massive, especially when there's 9 kills left. I mean, that is such a chunk of the lobby that this player has single-handedly knocked. Just the damage is there, the knocks are there. And, you know, it's great to do damage, but securing the knock is the most important thing. You can do all the damage in the world if the other player has the heals for it. So just way to secure the knock. I mean, that to me screams clutch.
We're also heading to what looks to be an incredible finisher here. So you see all those angry pings from BWO Gaming on that truck outside. That is literally what looks to be like the only top-down cover in the entire rest of the circle here. So we have this train cart that we have this No Way FKB team on, and outside of that, I mean, that's pretty much it. We have a beautiful cart setup, though, from Team Slow. Now, maybe a little over-eager, because our only thing to fear here is that every single team is going to know that that's the power position, and you may get a lot of teams to gang up on you. But we got another couple easy kills. That's going to be Tony, awarded with a kill onto Shifuyu. So our man of the moment, our night table photograph, is now no longer in the lobby.
You know, you would even argue that it was time for bed for Shifuyu.
Wow. And unfortunately, Snifty, after all of that ratting, only got top 9, unfortunately. We're now top 8. And here's the benefit that we do see as well. That ROO roster is not entirely out, just Shifuyu. So I want to make sure that that's abundantly clear. That is just one of the players. So there is definitely a chance that they can make a little bit more of a showing throughout the tournament here. Tony able to get a kill onto X57. I may have spoken too soon. We actually may be able to see that in the kill feed, as we are now down to 8 players. So there may be a solo rat. That roster may have been entirely wiped. Now Team Slow with the angle of the Century Poco with a beautiful control on that R99. Of course, that aim assist coming into play, and beautiful setup with those Caustic Girls, because now this team has a little bit less line of sight. Caustic can still see people that enter, and no one can push your truck right now.
Drag, I believe that I think Team Dramatic still has their crypto sneaking around the map. I could be completely wrong here, but that may be one of our solo squads that's still ratting around.
Okay. We do see Russo. We see that Pathfinder that was rezzed. He was the one that was thirsted on the train station as well, and they respawned him up towards the top of Epicenter. And I am curious, yeah, I think we might still have a singular player from that roster, Nate. You might absolutely be right. I mean, we're going for the beams on these players in the truck, but I don't know if this is worth peeking. Unfortunately, Kirito is absolutely hemorrhaging heals here on the Animal roster, and I think that may be a little over-eager, but of course, you do want to spend your heals going for some pick damage, going for some quick kills early on as we head into one of the final zones here, because of course, you're not going to have the time to hit a battery in the final zone. You're going to get aped by 9 teams, and you may as well use it or lose it. But look at that. We're going to have a whole team push this roster, and they're going to have the height advantage, as we may see that zone start to push in here, and those teams from the Dorito are going to be forced to push directly outwards, and they are. We do see a couple kills awarded. We hear the bell in the background, and this may be spelling sudden death for quite a few of these players here as we head into the zone number 6.
I mean, this is the explosive moment that I talked about wanting to see earlier. I mean, this is a tiny zone. We have 9 squads down to 6 squads left. I mean, the caustic gas is flowing. The players are shooting. We're scrambling for circle. This is what I wanted to see in our game 6.
I am a little apprehensive about the way Team Slow played that from that truck right there, because that Caustic, actually we saw it on another roster as well, the roster that has the Valkyrie. That Caustic was actually inhibiting his team by putting so many barrels in front of the doors. They actually had to kick down one of the barrels just to get through it. And I mean, those micro plays, those little couple seconds could absolutely have actually been a problem had that barrel stopped someone from getting through the door. On the other hand, we have our SFC roster. This was Leveracia, one of the players from the previous games, absolutely to watch. We saw them and Win for the Money absolutely destroy in an Epicenter fight to take a victory in game number 4 here. And unfortunately, it looks like these teams teams are going to be tanking the caustic gas. The flatline's going to come in. We see 2 players with flesh. Crypto's not able to get a knock. Zypir with some damage, but unfortunately he's going to fall. I believe though this is going to be a positive 2v1 situation for No Way FKB. Unfortunately their caustic was the player that got knocked. Valkyrie Tactical is going to come in. They're going to be hitting for the stun. We see 2 armors hit, no flesh, which indicates to us that we're not really only fighting 2 players there. So again, very important win for the money. Holding out the Gibraltar dome is going to come into play as well, and we're able to trap this back out. But that caustic gas coming back up does indicate to us that that caustic was rezzed. So that is still, although it damaged, a full 3-man roster.
Wow, incredible discipline to manage to stay alive here. I mean, these players were not giving up their life. They're being as difficult to kill as they possibly can be. 3 squads remaining. It's going to be tough to see how this plays out. I mean, Team Slow is still in the money. Team SFC is still in the money. I mean, these squads, man, they're going neck and neck for it, and I really have no idea who's going to come out the victor in this game. I mean, there's no clear advantage that I'm seeing right now.
Absolutely, and caustic traditionally is I would say used to be kind of an unorthodox pick. Caustic moves in and out of the meta, depending on what rosters and what pro teams are playing them at the time, so people try to mimic that. And there's quite a few caustics in here, so those barrels are not going to be as clutch of an unorthodox play. I mean, we've seen 2 of the 3 rosters in here have a caustic currently, and so you're not going to be able to get that extra tick damage on one of those players there, and that caustic can move through your gas completely uninhibited. You won't even know where they are. So I like that this player is opting to shoot his own caustic gas, and we're going to see Poka able to provide the Bloodhound scans there. I thought we might go for the cheeky under the ledge angle there, but we're going to opt to kill the full man team, which I do agree with here. We're going to be going for some shots on that Wraith. About 30 damage is going to hit that Wraith. The zone is finally closing. I think we're probably going to see 2 caustic ults as we all move forward for this fight here, but that forklift is going to provide a little bit of cover. Not much, but in this specific instance, a little bit's better than none.
I mean, it almost looks like Team Slow has unwisely pushed to the forklift. Now the other team is able to move away, and now they are pinned on this forklift. So pushing in for that player on the forklift may have been to a disadvantage for them, as in now they are stuck with the forklift being their only source of cover.
And that was Team No Way that is going to be entirely melted. We see the Gibraltar tanking some of the flame damage. The Valkyrie ticks are going to go out. Looks like we got a knock between the caustic gas and the shotgun, and SFC is going to come out the victor in our final closing game. Incredible stuff. Unorthodox plays with the caustic, and Nate, that's going to be our Valkyrie thick boy team.
We gave it some props earlier in the match. It's funny that it's all come full circle. Massive props to SFC.
Now, again, of course, we do have to check to have those leaderboards cleared up so we can get the stats for you, concluding our game number 6. Now, that, again, was going to be SFC, so Leveracia, Schmeisser, and The Money, which we already saw take another victory. So, Team Baby, and Team SFC have won 2 games back-to-back. I do not believe we saw Dramatic win anything more than 1 game. So, I mean, there is definitely a chance. I'm genuinely not entirely sure what the scores are going to allot to.
I mean, Team Baby's going to have to hope that they did enough hard work in the beginning of the tournament to carry through. They did have a massive lead, 78 points before game number 6. I believe they only got 2 kill points that game. I could be wrong, as we did see them opt to try to thirst a player. I think they realized that their ship was sinking, and we saw that player opt to try to thirst the other members of the challenging squad that they could. Was it enough? Was it enough? They did have a fat lead. That would put them at around 80 points, 79, 80 points. That's a lot. Is it going to be enough to secure them the victory? We're going to have to wait and see.
And see, that's what we don't know. We don't know what has happened with Dramatic, I believe, was going to be our second place team. And we don't know what the team has done. I mean, we didn't see them in that final grouping of kill feed, unfortunately, but there is definitely a chance that if they cut them off with those 2 points, exactly as you had said, Nate, I don't know if we're going to see a 20-point game from Team Dramatic, but there's a chance. There is definitely a team that's close enough. The other thing, the other roster that we needed to look at, I believe, was going to be BWO Gaming. And BWO had a pretty considerably good game there as well. I believe they got into a top 5 placing there with a lot of kill points. There were some teams that we had seen kind of drop off at the beginning that were really showing up. I mean, again, our ROOT2, our X57, our Shifuyu, and our Russo were playing phenomenally strong right there. I think that team dropped 12 kills before they closed out. So definitely a tough call.
I mean, yeah, Shifuyu was my my unsung hero of the match. That's my personal MVP for that match. We saw some really explosive plays out of Shifuyu, almost back to back. So I cannot give enough props to the man, the myth, the legend Shifuyu, because those wingman shots were pretty nasty. We saw him hit that one headshot for 86, and then he just went off with it on that 4 tab. Just you shot your
Absolutely.
gun, guy. You did good. You shot the gun and you did good.
Absolutely. And they were one of the things that I was appreciative of the ROO roster that I hadn't seen them do in the previous matches. What they were forcing fights that were difficult for the opposing team, right? I mean, and that's a lot of you use the illusion to call Apex chess. You're exactly right. It's 4D chess with guns. I mean, you get to move your players around in different variables in different situations. We've all seen a D&D board, right? You've got your 3 little characters and you walk them up a little hill and then oh no, there's 3 goblins. What do we do? Everybody stop. You just don't have that stop interval, right? But you are still playing with 3D characters in a 3D environment and you have to play chess. What character do I use to send my Gibraltar? And then consider the weapons that I have. What guns do they have, right? I mean, it's all of that ability to extrapolate really quickly in some engagements because at a certain tier, diamond players are the same as pred players. The pred players are just smarter. That's the difference to me.
Yeah, I mean, gun skill can only carry you so far. That's what separates your preds from your masters from your plat. I mean, for it's after a certain point, the gun skill only goes so far. I feel like gun knowledge, being able to shoot a variety of guns well, also comes into play. But definitely, gun skill will only get you so far in this game. The rest of it is the big brain plays. It's the rotation for circle. It's the when to ape, when to withdraw, when to heal, when to shoot. Little nuance that really makes or break these games for these players. But just very, very, very solid competition all day today. We've just witnessed a plethora of crazy plays. We've seen some crazy shots. We've seen some huge damage. I mean, it's been a great day for Apex. I've said it a bunch of times today, but this really has been a great day to watch some Apex.
It really has, and one of the things I want to highlight, of course, as an NA player, and Nate is as well. One of the things I want to highlight is how different the European teams are versus the NA teams. Right, the NA teams often orbit that kind of outside of zone. We walk in with zone. We do what we can, and sometimes we get gate kept. We saw a lot of those teams in like even zones 3, 4, and 5. We saw them occupying the center of the zone, which is obviously it was very smart. They were able to forecast here. But this is going to be your MVP for our game number 6 of the Console Gaming League Summer Series. 3 kills, 3 assists, coming in right under 1,500 damage with a first place finish. Now, we are waiting on production to still give us some tallies here, but Nate, what does this say to you? This actually says that this game was more tame and measured to me.
Yeah, I mean, to me, this just speaks about the volume of player discipline and control, right? They didn't need to go out and have a high place game. They kind of just played to their advantage. And we do have the final tally here.
Wow.
Team Baby with 82 points. So they were able to get more kills than I had assumed. That solidified their first place with 82 points. We have Team SFC in second place with 24 kill points. 38 placement points, totaling for 62 points altogether. And then Team Dramatic falls to third place with 31 kills, 21 placement points for a total of 52 points.
Unbelievable. Those two back-to-back massive kill point wins for Team Baby just sealed that fate. I mean, and it was up to Dramatic to come out from behind and get a fat victory to try to move them forward. And SFC had other plans. Not only did Dramatic not get second place, but SFC came from behind by a whole 10 points to get their share of that cash prize. Nate, what have these players won in terms of the dollar amount? Give us for those watching in the chat, for those people that are going to participate in future console gaming league tournaments. You're able to keep up to date with the console gaming league at the Twitter handle at console gaming LG. If you want to participate in these, it is traditionally free to enter tournaments. We've got Mortal Kombat, we've got Halo, we've got Apex. I mean, you can be the next guy to get your share of the console gaming LG's wallet. But Nate, what have these players today? What are they walking away with?
All right, so first place team walks away with 250 bones and some trophies provided by YES. Second place is going to walk away with 175 bucks, and our third place team is going to walk away with 75 bucks. So, hey man, pretty solid for an afternoon of playing some video games with your friends. Even 75 bucks for third place. That's still, you can go buy lunch, you can go buy dinner, you can go buy a pizza tonight, you can treat yourself to something nice because you've certainly earned it just by playing some video games. It's always cool to walk away with some pocket cash.
Absolutely. And it's exactly as you say. One of my favorite things is I would game for free. I do game for free. Any hourly rate for gaming, That's not a bad day. I'm getting paid to do something I love. So congrats to all of the players that were able to walk away with the cash prize. Huge thank you to all of the teams that played today, of course. And these are all teams that had played in the first qualifier on the 21st. We want to make sure that we note that as well. So, I mean, not only did they show up for one event, they showed up for two. And so that's all culminated in some of the beautiful gameplay we got to see today. Before we go ahead and close out, of course, we have to thank the Console Gaming League, both for having me and for allowing Nate to team up with me, and as well as their sponsor, YES. Now, that is going to be etsy.com/shop for your engraving shop, if I'm not mistaken here. And we can have a chat leader put something in the chat so we can have a link directly to that. But Nate talked about the dollar amount. We glossed over the trophies a little bit, but Nate, they get a visual too. Not only do they get some cash, first place gets what?
The trophy.
First place gets a trophy.
The trophy.
First place.
You get a
gets
trophy. That's sick. Who doesn't love trophies? And like, let's talk about it, right? Like, how cool is it to like have something that you won, right? That says like, hey, good job, you won it. Like, I've always dreamed of winning some sort of trophy from some sort of gaming event, and so far it's eluded me. So, Team Baby walking away with Team Baby trophies is hey, that's so exciting, man. Like, I think it's a super rad idea. Hats off to Console Gaming League for providing these trophies. I think it's super, super sick that they are able to reward these players with something tangible other than the cash prize.
Absolutely. And I want to clarify, just because I'm not entirely sure if I read that off correctly, that's going to be etsy.com/shop/your engraving supply. So make sure if you are looking to get some kind of custom art, some kind of laser engraved stuff. I mean, they have all the way to individual character emblems. I've seen some cool Bloodhound ones. We peeked over at some Octane. I'm a Pathfinder, and they have one of his little smiling robot chest. I mean, top to bottom, you can customize them however you want. So if you are looking to get involved and get some custom art for your own game room, get a little bit of swag, you can get that through YES. But guys, I got the fortune to get to be chair number one today. I got to host, I got to team up with our lovely friend Nate Dogg. We got to do it not only today, but on the 21st as well. We have to give a thanks to the Console Gaming League. We talked about our sponsor. We have one of the heads of Console Gaming League, Lawrence, was actually the person that got all of us involved. And we have a beautiful, incredibly skilled production team behind the desk. I believe there were quite a few players operating the flyovers. We had quite a few folks doing the individual POVs. I mean, we had that picture in picture, top to bottom. Nothing but unbelievable skill as we close out our summer series, from the players, from the production. Nate, you are always a treasure to cast with. Thank you very, very much for joining for me today. Nate and I are going to go ahead and sign off. Guys, it was lovely to get to bring this show to you on behalf of the Console Gaming League. We'll see you next time.